Can we go for the meeting with pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Jerry.
Ellen Jackson. Here. Brian White. Here. Natasha Lee. She was though. Chris Walensky. Here. Mike Clark. Here.
Thank you. Public comment, limit to 5 minutes per person. Please state your name and your township resident. Please.
Oops. My name is Cheryl Parks. I've been a township resident for 38 years and taxpayer. I don't even know what to say at this point. This Wednesday, we had 2 more dogs loose. I was in the backyard with my dogs. All of a sudden, here comes an Airedale. I have to get my dogs on the deck. I get my dogs on the deck and in the house because they're losing their minds. The Airedale runs into my garage, then down my driveway. I go out, try to get a picture of it. And my driveway goes down a hill. While I'm out there, here comes another one behind me. It comes this far from knocking me over. They're in my garage. They're knocking stuff over in my garage. So I call the police. And the police come. And I just got a call from one of the officers, DeHart, I think was his name, and he said he was going to, check it out. So I'll read you the police report. But they were supposed to call me back after because I don't even know if the dogs get captured, if I can let my dogs out again. Now I can't even use my backyard. So this is the police report from that day. I have 20 minutes of video of these dogs running around on my property all over. The police it took them 20 minutes to get anybody to come out of the house because there's no door. They have to go through the garage door or up the stairs where the other 5 Airedales are, which they don't want to do. So no one ever even took a statement from me other than the initial one, and no one got back to me, and I had a call the next day. But I'm going to read you a police report. And it's not in the police report that the dog nearly knocked me down, and I'd really like it in the police report. On July 2nd, at approximately 10:43 hours, Officer Bianchi was dispatched to report a loose dog on the Culver's property, 150 Ruby Lane. Upon arrival to the area, the officer began to pull down the driveway to the caller's property. While on the caller's property, I observed 2 brown and black dogs running around by the bend in the driveway, which then ran towards my patrol vehicle. Both dogs were not under control or confinement at this time, and were both right next to this officer. I confirmed with the Monroe County GIS system where I was parked, and standing was the property of 150 Ruby Lane. That's me. I observed multiple other dogs of a similar breed at the residence of 154 Ruby Lane. Contact was made with the owner of the dogs, Fernando Salas. Salas was able to get one of the dogs under control and onto a leash. The other dog re-entered the backyard to a hole in the corner of the fence. The officer walked around the fence with Salas and observed that the dogs had pushed out and under the corner of the chicken wire surrounding the fence. Chicken wire for an 85-pound dog? So I guess this has been going on since last July, is when the first dog got out. This is absolutely ridiculous. I thought zoning was going to get them to fix the fence. I don't know how long I can do this. I am petrified. I was so upset. I can't do my stuff. I'm stressed out every single minute because I have to look at cameras. I have to figure out if there's any dogs loose. At this age, I do not need to be knocked down by a dog. It is not right. And I don't even know what to do. First of all, the dog should be in the back, as the zoning ordinance says. So I don't know. The township is the one that gave them the special exception for the kennel. The kennel ordinance says that the dog should be in the back of the building, and they are not. They are barking all the time. People had a party in front of my property. They barked the whole time. The other thing, they have no shelter whatsoever. There is no shelter out there. They're out there 10, 12 hours a day, hot sun, in the thunder and lightning storm the other day, and there's no shelter for them whatsoever. I mean, this right now is just unbelievable that I have to keep doing this. And I can't use any part of my property now. And the other thing is, so now I've got these dogs running all over my property. I take my dogs out, well, they're real interested in that. So if I want to exercise my dogs, which I do on a long lead, so I can control them, but so they can get some exercise, well, they're over here where those dogs were, they're over here where those dogs were, and they're here. My whole way of life has been totally destroyed. I cannot use my property. I should not have dogs in my garage. I should be able to go and do my gardening. I should be able to have my dogs out. Chicken wire, I don't even know what to say about that. And I really would like it to show in that police report that they nearly ran me over. I mean, this is ridiculous. So now I have 3 more trips I get to go before the magistrate. And the one for the district court, we don't even know when that is. I haven't even got notice. That was when they had the 4 citations, 4 separate citations with dogs loose, and did not show up at the magistrate's office. But they can appeal it. So I have to go there. But I don't know when the date is, so I would like to know that. I've got family coming in 2 weeks. I've got little kids coming. This is not right at all. Not right. And the other thing I would like to say is that the minutes from last meeting, my name, I didn't even get an honorable mention for the last public comment at the end of the meeting. And I think since I stayed here till 11:15 that night, that it should be reflected in the meetings. So I don't know what we're going to do about this, but right now I am a nervous wreck. I am stressed out. They should be in the back of the building, if nothing else. The fence, chicken wire for an 85-pound dog, I don't even know what to say. Not only that, my whole property is, in front of my driveway is flooded. And then the guy was dumping dog food on my property. Oh, we didn't know that was her property. It only gets mowed by me, sorry. I mean, it's just enough already. I've had it. Thank you.
I would like to address that, but should I do it now or during my time?
Go ahead.
I think Cheryl's absolutely right. I would like to know what we are actually doing. This has been going on for a year. These dogs are not under the owner's control, okay? There's no one else in Pocono Township that comes to this meeting and complains because it's not happening, because everybody knows how to keep their dog under control. This is ridiculous. For a year, this woman has no relief. We now have a nuisance ordinance. The police have multiple reports. These people can't even show up to court. Okay, I don't think they've even paid a fine. I mean, I had enough. So what can we do? And that's open for anybody.
So I can confirm that in this case, the officer cited or filed a citation for the confinement of the dogs in this case. I don't know where that stands at this point. It just happened earlier last week. I think the initial citations that were filed are under appeal, Court of Common Pleas. I don't know when that date has been postponed or rescheduled. Unfortunately, I don't think you finished reading the report because that was probably disclosed in that report that citations are going to be filed. So at this point, that's all we can do. That was explained during my intervention. with Cheryl that all we can do as police officers is respond and continue to cite the owners for confinement of dog law violations. And that's what's being done.
Does the dog want to get involved in Chief? Is there any support there between your department and the dog?
No, we handle all those individual issues. And now it's up to the magistrate to impose fines, and the owner has to try to find a way to ensure that this doesn't happen. Dogs have to be retained to that property.
We were told they spent over $15,000 for a fence. Did we ever go out and inspect what they did? I guess that's a zoning question.
Well, when I was out there with some, yeah, there was a fence, but there was a dog that was digging under the fence, and they were putting rocks in those holes or those areas to try to prevent that from happening. I'm not sure exactly why this is occurring now, but my suggestion was that the owner use a backup electric fence that they can, put it around the entire perimeter of the 5-acre plus property to try to prevent the dogs from leaving the property.
Dogs on the top. We wear
Well, I remember the owners were concerned about they didn't want to electrocute the dogs. Anyway.
Clearly, they're not concerned about the dogs.
Yeah.
They're running dogs.
So they have chosen to deal with this on a regular basis. That's all we do.
What is the intruder? Chicken wire? Is that what it is? Chicken wire?
Well, it's a wooden fence, but then dig down, dig in with the chicken wire, like additional security measure.
So that's what was $15,000. So I'm assuming the fence is already there. They were supposed to prevent it. There has to be something we can do or take away their license because they're clearly not. Well, they have the right to have a kennel. Maybe they should have the right not to have a kennel. I mean, at what point?
I just see Mr. South. Walter. Oh, Walter. Sorry. Yes, he's present here. Maybe he can elaborate on what he intends to do.
Can you explain to us why you don't keep getting out and why you keep allowing that? Again, yeah.
So, my name is Edward Gualtieri. I'm a resident and co-owner at 154 Ruby Lane. We do own several Airedale Terriers.
11.
Not 11. I'm sorry.
11 dogs, right?
No, we don't have 11. We don't own 11 dogs. Ma'am,
The dog warden.
ma'am, please. We had an original fencing contractor come in and install the fence when we first moved in February of last year. It turns out not to be according to the specifications that we had hoped. So there were some occasions where our dogs got loose. We fortified the fence in November of last year. And since then, we hadn't had any episodes of dogs escaping until just recently. So one of our girls and her 1-year-old pup, we only saw the 1-year-old pup loose. I'm not saying the other girl wasn't loose and got back into the backyard, but we only saw the one pup loose, and she was circling the house and came up to the officer, not, doing any harm to anyone. I believe she was still on our property. Can I finish, please?
I'm the one who said that. I said, that's
Oh,
not
okay.
the point. Your dog's supposed to be under your control at all times.
Right.
Not in the neighbor's yard.
Sure.
So how are you going to?
Well, we have hired a third contractor to put an additional board on the bottom of the fence and solidify it even further. So it has been about 8 months since our dogs were loose, to my knowledge.
It happened last Wednesday.
Yes, from last Wednesday to November of last year.
No.
There have not been any other occasions.
No, seriously.
Well,
You had 4 citations.
Four
And you did not
citations?
show
What are
up
the
for
dates?
it, and
We will.
4. 4.
No,
Four
there were
separate
citations that were withdrawn, and if I could finish, please.
I
There
would
were
like to comment
citations that were withdrawn, and I don't know why they were withdrawn, but one of them, I believe, stated that you were attacked by a large tan dog. We do not have tan dogs. We have black and tan dogs, and they are not 85 pounds. They are about 50 pounds in weight. So I thought it was rabbit wire that was installed, not chicken wire, but in any event, we're putting an additional board on the bottom of the fence to preclude them from digging and getting loose.
Do you have a time frame now?
Well, since this incident, we were able to secure someone that's going to be initiating it this week. And it shouldn't be more than a week or so before that's complete.
But before that happens, you control the dogs, keep them.
Yes.
Then you're confined.
Yes, sir.
They don't get loose.
Yes, sir.
Chris, if I can add something for the board. We should call about a week and a half ago from the assistant district attorney in Pocono County and the case asking if my firm or myself would be interested in handling the case. We typically don't do these types of municipal types of cases. I said absolutely. I would get their authority to act as an acting district attorney to prosecute the appeals that have had. Once I have a date, I'll let the township know, and the Sparks know, and go.
So, Jim, haven't you had more than one complaint since November about loose dogs? Because I'm pretty sure there's some multiple complaints out there.
How are you sure of that, ma'am?
It's like I've heard them as they happen.
I don't have a solid answer for that. There's been probably 2 since November, I would say.
I know one of them was withdrawn. It was stated that our dogs were loose on June 6th, and that was withdrawn.
I can clarify that. No criminal charges have been withdrawn. Those civil charges that were filed by zoning, those were withdrawn.
And can you explain the difference between the criminal and the civil? Because I had understood that the law was changed, or the ordinance was changed, about a month or 2 after we moved in from civil to criminal.
You remember when I came to see you, and we discussed the seriousness of this,
Yes,
and how this was going to get to this point. And I offered you a suggestion that you use an electric fence backup to what you have in place now.
Right.
I would still strongly suggest that you do that. However, when the police arrive and find the dogs, that's criminal. The civil element is.
When was that put into effect?
Oh, that's
that it was criminal.
It's a summary offense, like a traffic offense, a harassment offense, to the criminal offense, been on the books long as I've been practicing.
Okay.
It's over 40 years.
Okay.
Dogs at large is a criminal offense. That's what's being prosecuted. That's what the assistant district attorney called my office and spoke with me to have us represent the township, the Commonwealth, in essence, of Pennsylvania, in the case against the owners of the property.
Okay. Well, we had hired
Zoning, yes, you are the attorney.
hired legal representation,
Absolutely.
and we were told the day before we were supposed to appear in court that it was postponed to August 28th. That's what we were told.
I have to double check my notes, but I believe that is in fact the case. But I would represent the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania against you in that case.
Well, the assertion that we didn't show up at court is a misnomer. We were given a new date for that case.
There was a preliminary hearing in Judge Crescent's office, and that's where you didn't show up. So there was a hearing held extension, which weren't there, and Judge Crescent found found you guilty of those charges, and now you're in summary appeal in the courthouse, please.
Okay.
And on the civil end, that's zoning. Zoning ordinances are enforced with civil penalties, $500 a day for each fence.
Mhm.
That's good. If we're approved, different avenue, ultimately can wind up in court, court of common pleas. But the dog at large charge followed by the police officers is criminal.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. So all I can say at this point is that we are taking measures to fortify the fence even further. And if there were one or two other occasions between November and July 2nd, I'm not aware of them, or I don't have knowledge of what those dates are and what had occurred, or we weren't consulted about it. So we thought the problem was fixed up until a few days ago when they found a way to dig underneath the fence. And we said, okay, we're going to have to do something additionally. And so that's what we're doing.
Lindsay, where do we stand with that?
Yeah, so the last two civil complaints that were filed is for failure to reasonably control animals on the property. But the one provision of that was that so as to not call it a nuisance, but at that point in time it didn't have a definition for a nuisance. So the judge well, the first civil complaint doesn't really hear that, but we now have definitions for private and public. We have the more to
So we're doing that after the legislature.
yes, Sean applies to issue enforcement.
So he says that within a week, I believe Richie just told you that he would have something done. Can we go out and inspect that it is done? Because
And we said
Yes.
the property has permission.
Yes, absolutely.
Lindsay, could you put that down there? Schedule that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and we had asked the newest contractor to take before and after pictures so you could see what it was like before, what it was like after. And hopefully this will resolve the problem.
It has to resolve.
Well, there are occasions where dogs from other neighbors and around our area have gone on our property, and we haven't called the police. We allowed the neighbors to pick up the dogs and take them back home. So I'm just asking for some tolerance and some conciliation.
You've got all the tolerance you're going to get from me. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Well,
This has been going on too long.
well, we're taking the measures. That's all I can tell you.
Before we continue with public comment, we had heard tonight that Don was here to take notes and subscribe. The hearings will be postponed, so I'm going to make a motion to amend the agenda right now. I didn't expect to take this much time in relation to public comment. We'll wait back to public comment after we open the hearing. Close the hearing.
Well, what we would do, Rich, is let's open the hearing.
Well, I'll make a motion to amend or suspend the agenda for the fact to open the hearing for request of a continuance hearing on dangerous structure appeal for tax parcel ID 12.11A.1.3. Is there a second? Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. So I'll make a motion to open the hearing again for a continuance on dangerous structure appeal. Tax parcel ID is 12.11A.1.93. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Good.
Okay, yeah, Rich, for the record, this matter involves what's commonly known as the Woods Miller property. They've been here before. Zoning has requested independent counsel since the board sits as the judge in these matters in the local agency hearings. That attorney is Ronald Kidwell. We received correspondence from Mr. Kidwell indicating he's unavailable for tonight's hearing because of a prior scheduling conflict. and ask that this matter be moved to the second hearing in July, or the second meeting in July 21st, 2025. There was no objection by Mr. Wolf. So it would be a motion to continue the hearing on the dangerous structure appeal tax parcel ID 12.11A.1.93 until 6 o'clock on July 21st, 2025.
So I'll make a motion to approve the continuance hearing on dangerous structure appeal for tax parcel ID 12.11A.1.93. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion.
I just have a question. If we wait this time, is it getting any more dangerous, or can we wait this time?
That I don't.
That's not something.
At this point, my opinion, that I don't think it's going to cause any public harm. The structure may sustain more weather damage, but ultimately, I think it's a hazard that's going to cause any issues. So wait for a short period.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for the evidence. Thank you for running that. Did I close the hearing? I'll make a motion to close the hearing. Second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. So going back to public comment, George, like prior to this, so please.
I'd just like to address the gentleman with the dog about the electric fence. I have my dog, German Shepherd, on an electric fence. It's a GPS collar that works great, and the dog doesn't get electrocuted at all. Dog knows its boundaries, doesn't even try to get out. So they work.
I agree, Joe.
I've had one spot on collar. I've had it for over 2.5 years.
There's no ants that could possibly electrocute them.
No, and you can adjust it up and down.
It's just holes.
The dog gets to a certain area and it stops.
Please, sir, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Cook, and I, along with my husband, own a restaurant located in Pocono Township. I'm a Paradise Township resident, but we own commercial property in Pocono. We also own a food trailer. I'm here tonight to ask the commissioners to move forward with the process of adopting the food truck ordinance that was on an agenda a few months back and is also on the agenda again this evening. I believe this ordinance is important as it will require both mobile food trucks and trailers and brick and mortar restaurants to operate with checks and balances, such as appropriate signage, sufficient parking, sanitary facilities, and general property maintenance. If you do not feel the passing of the ordinance is the direction you would like to go, I would respectfully ask that you consider making the signage, parking, sanitary facilities, and property maintenance part of the permit process for the food truck and trailers moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to make a public comment?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lou Ginsburg. I live at 2139 Sky High Drive in Pocono Township section of Barton Glen. I wish to address a problem and then read and present a petition for your consideration and action. Speeding is a major concern and poses a hazard in our development. Traffic, including cars, commercial delivery vehicles like UPS, FedEx, and Amazon Prime, garbage trucks, and even school buses race up and down our roads. Speed limit signs are routinely ignored. We would ask for more signs, but they would likely be ignored also. In our development, there are many children, including one who is hearing impaired and another on the autism spectrum. Many senior citizens walk on the roads for exercise. Others walk their dogs. The traffic situation is an accident waiting to happen. In fact, several weeks ago, the police responded when a pickup truck ran into the ditch in front of my house and had to be towed out. Fortunately, only egos were bruised. Imagine if a child or another pedestrian was involved. I have a petition signed by over 45 residents of Barton Glen asking for relief. This is our petition. Whereas we, the undersigned, are residents of that portion of Barton Glen that lies within Pocono Township, and whereas Barton Glen is a residential community composed of both senior citizens and young families with children, and whereas the roads within Barton Glen are township roads subject to the township ordinances, including vehicle speed limits, and whereas the roads in Barton Glen are heavily traveled by both commercial and residential vehicles that often exceed the posted speed limit, whereas we are extremely concerned about the hazards posed to the health and safety of our children and senior citizens. Now, therefore, we humbly petition the Pocono Township Board of Commissioners as follows. Please install speed tables on those portions of Sky High Drive and Pocono Circle that lie within Pocono Township. I do not know the cost of installing a speed table, but I do know the cost of an injured child or an adult is incalculable. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience wish to make a comment?
Good evening, Charles Kepler, resident. There's two quick suggestions this evening for the board. The first is related to police department hiring. I know for the last few months now we've been hearing that the police department is been having a lot of difficulty hiring officers. I would like to suggest that the board use the space on the digital billboards that we have here in town to advertise that we are looking for police officers, especially the billboards along Route 80. I know there are probably a lot of police officers from New York City, Newark, New Jersey who are coming out here on vacation who will pass by those billboards perhaps, multiple times on their visit here. If they see a billboard, they might be interested in becoming a police officer out here. I know, a lot of New York City police officers may not be thrilled with the new mayor that they're looking to have in New York. So, why not try to get them here? So it seems like a great use of that space we have in the digital billboards. My second suggestion is related to the library. Looking over the space in the empty wing of the building, I suppose it's the county wing. I know we're going to be getting an update on the library this evening. But down at the end of the hall, there is the old bookstore. It has an exit directly to the parking lot. There's a loading dock there, but I don't see why a staircase couldn't be put in. Maybe the old bookstore it already has a checkout counter where somebody could check out books. It has a small office. There are also a few rooms adjacent. I mean, if the board is feeling generous, perhaps give them one or two rooms. Put up a partition. Whatever the county is going to be using that space for, whether it's record storage or impound, whatever they're doing in that space. My. Why not use that space there? It already has an exit to the outside of the building. It seems like a great way to make sure that our collection is maintained, the collection from the old, Pocono Township library. Keep that library intact. Keep that collection intact, because once it's gone, it's going to be very difficult for the library to recompile it. It's going to be very costly. Give them an option, but let's try to find a compromise here. So, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Anyone else in the audience wish to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Carmen Chuleon, Jackson Township. I have two comments. One is about the library. As he mentioned, once the library closes, all the other branches are gonna come to disband the collection. So if down the road you want to keep the collection, you need to make an agreement soon and resolve the matter, because once the collection is dissolved, it's going to be really hard to try to put it back again, or they will have to buy a new collection. And the other topic I wanted to talk was about the Golden Slipper, the tour. This is the map that you hand out with the tour. The red line is what most people is taking because it's a third of the time, and the driving distance is go from Barton Woods to Reader's Run to Gardner Road and Staden Road. I live off Gardner Road, and now it's a highway, 60 miles per hour instead of the 25 that the signs mark. And to make it worse, the bridge on Pocono Creek at the Staden Road has the two double solid yellow lines painted. Depends of the time of the day that you drive by there, you will think that two cars can pass by. In the last week, I've been almost getting into an accident because people doesn't yell even though you have the signs that is one lane bridge. But those two lines have been there for more than a year. When the pavement was done, I believe it was more than a year ago, because I went to the township to let you know, and I talked to the maintenance head person, and during that week they tried to patch it with black, and the black is already gone. So depending of the time of the day and the angle you approach, you can think it is a two lines bridge. So it's an accident waiting to happen now. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Is there anybody in the audience like that? Yes, we have two waiting. First one, Karen Delight. Is there anybody in the audience?
Yes, Karen Delight. You ready? Okay, I don't know where to begin. I live on Ruby Lane with this kennel situation that's been going on for like 15 months. They've been here. Yes, we've had an issue. It wasn't just July 2nd. The day after the nuisance ordinance went into effect was the time. I don't know what the date was, but they got loose on that day also. And somebody should take care of this, because we have to live with the nuisance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are always out there barking their mouths off, constantly, rain, snow, heat, whatever. And they're not supposed to be in the front porch, but they are. Nobody seems to listen. Nobody's getting anything done. Hopefully, with all these issues, the things summons they've been getting, whatever they're called, maybe somebody will finally get something done. Somebody needs to step in and actually do something, because it's a real nightmare back here. And we've had the property 55 years, and the last year and a half has been the worst. There's never been a problem before that. It just doesn't make sense why you put a kennel on the road when it's a private road, and we have deed restrictions that nobody listens. And the traffic is awful. And they're ripping up our road and it's destroying it, and we have to fix it. And it's just terrible. And another issue with Staten Road, now that we're the throughway for the detour, that bridge is awful. I haven't seen the yellow marking, but the yield signs do nothing. And the one yield sign is right on top of the bridge, which I feel maybe you should put a stop sign on each side. Maybe that'll get through to some. I don't know, before there's a major accident. And thank you to the police chief and for Patrick, I would say. They had tried to do something on the road. At least they're checking the speed, and I'm hoping they're giving tickets out, because there's a lot of people speeding and not paying attention to the 25 mile an hour or the hidden driveway. So thank you for that. And that's it. Just hope something gets done.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes, Don Albert. Don, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Dawn Eilber, resident. I'm just asking about the workshop that's on Wednesday. There is no advertisement anywhere saying that the workshop is still on about talking at the meetings. Is that going to be taking place?
Yes, it's listed here on the announcements under the agenda.
Under the agenda. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. So it's still on. Thank you.
6 p.m.
Okay.
Is that it? Yes, Mr. President, that's all set.
So under announcements, there will be a public comment workshop on Wednesday, July 9th at 6 p.m. No action to be taken that evening. We have a presentation tonight from Frank Spaulding, the treasurer. So Frank, turn it over to you, sir.
Hello. Hello. All right, so we have two packets tonight. We'll briefly touch on some highlights. You can review the detail in your own time. We are first doing the quarter four of 24. A little bit delayed. We had some challenges this year. Software, staff, moving, but I think we have everything caught up now and should be back on schedule. Anyway, the Q4, I'll just look, if you look at the first page, it's the revenue comparison for this year and the last couple. For 24, our total, our budget for the general fund was 10,959,931. We came in at 12,492. So that's 113%, almost 114% above budget in revenues. Again, I'm just highlighting the general funds. And if you go to the next page, expenses, the expenses total were 9,689,252, and we were budgeted at 10,959,931. So we were below budget on expenses for 24 and above budget for revenue. So both are good. There are some highlights in the detail pages following that you can look at. Some of the bigger items of revenue increases were interest on investments was almost 350,000 more than we expected. I don't think we were expecting exactly the way the revenues came in at the timing. So we had more investment income, much more higher on the building permits, almost 300,000. Zoning permits up 534,000. Again, these are some of the highlights for the 24 detail that you can review on your own time. The other items, you have the other funds like the sewer operating is also stable, and the older funds are fully pretty much in line for 24. So I'm going to move on to the first quarter 25. Yes.
Is 24, has that been given to the auditors yet?
I don't think they're in to audit yet, are they? Okay. All right. So I guess they did start the audit. Okay. So moving on 25, we're looking at the first quarter 25. Not a lot of information there, but if you look at that page of revenue again, summaries, revenues for the first quarter 25, so a total of 2,023,403, compared to a total year budget of 10,165. So at the first quarter, we're at just under 20% in revenues. So pretty much in line there. The expenses are also at about 20%. Again, I'm just looking at the general fund. There's not a lot of information in the first quarter, but the details all there too for your review. Nothing really out of the ordinary or any issues to report at this point. That's all I have.
I have a question on that. I'm looking at the revenue. You say, just quarter one. Never mind. Your budget on the bottom is the whole year.
The whole year, right. We don't budget by period. It's just the annual.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are tied.
Right. But it'll be helpful to know if we're over on your budget.
Well, we don't, at this point, we've talked about it past, we do not budget by the month or by the quarter. we do an annual budget and prorate it. So there will be some fluctuations by month and by quarter.
In QuickBooks, you can put a budget.
Yes, but it would have to be right more. We'd have to break it up in time.
112, right? That's what you said you're doing.
Well, 1/12 is what
So that would be helpful. If I saw that you had 2 million in revenue, but our budget was 1 million, or was our budget 3 million? Are we under or over?
So did you break down the budget by quarter?
Have you done?
Well, we'll take a look at that. Yeah.
I mean, have you done it?
Right. I just said if we're I'm sure we can try.
Even the budget you have, and carry it.
Sure, if anything will be done, we it with time.
Software will track that. We are still using QuickBooks. This is our thing, QuickBooks, so that will track monthly. Once that populates, we're about 2/3 of the way in with that update software now. So once we get it, we'll be able to see that on a real monthly basis. So it'll be a lot more.
Yeah, I just appreciate it. So, that's fine. Thank you. As we work benchmarks.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions for Brian?
Thank you.
Okay, 1512 and 1560 Shady Lane lot consolidation. Waiver request out. No.
Hi everyone. Quick one tonight. The plan is just a lot consolidation of 2 small lots into 1 larger lot. Aaron Cares reviewed it, and the only outstanding comment is the waiver request that we have submitted, which is a request to install rebar instead of concrete monuments due to the shallow depth of bedrock out at that site. That's it.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve lot consolidation of 1512 and 1516 Shady Lane. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mike. Mike, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
No.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Natasha, did you say yay or no?
Yay. Sorry.
Yeah, originally they voted in favor. Probably yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve waiver of saldo 390-49.A.4 to permit the setting of iron pins as opposed to concrete monuments. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mike. Discussion?
Sorry. You can't get a right on concrete monument. That's on the board to be like.
The concrete line, 36 inches tall.
How deep are the pins?
Depends, I think, later time. We need to They can.
You can also drill the rock too, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to dig down to the rock.
So how long is it built? Average pin? Is it 18 inches? 1 foot?
I think it's like about 2 feet. So, when it's, this big as compared to well, and it's just a partial boundary too.
We basically the waiver, and I think the pins are going to be adequate myself. The whole purpose is so that another surveyor relocate it and the pins are put in properly. That would be it. And the concrete monuments, I believe they're supposed to be put into the ground 18 inches, and that if you're right, just can't do it. They're usually have a 6x6 base on them. Whereas a pin, I don't think they're 2.5 feet, so I think they're 24 inches at the most. And you drive them as far as you can until you hit the fuse. They stick up 6 inches, and they stick up 6 inches. I think it's okay.
Any more questions? All in favor? Aye. Nay? Motion carried. MCTA waiver request, John Grant.
Good evening. My name is John Grant. I'm with Stantec Consulting. Got Charles Alva with me. He's going to help me out with this presentation a little bit. We've got a number of waivers to request, but before we got into that, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview as to what we're proposing for the site. The site itself is the existing MCTA building and all facilities. Right now, the facility, we've got a mixed use of the parking lot. The same parking spaces are being used to store the fleet and the passenger vehicles for the staff. So, as a bus goes out, a driver would come in, staff takes their bus out, another driver would come in. But everything's being stored outside, and as you know, there's some rough weather up here. So the primary drive for this project is we want to get the MCTA fleet under roof. So we're proposing a 43,900 square foot building to house the fleet. We're not looking to increase the fleet. This is just to take the existing fleet, put it under roof. This will allow them to be, when we get the inclement weather, they're actually underneath the roof. Make it easier to actually clean the vehicles. There's been a history on this site of theft of catalytic converters also, so getting under a roof actually protects the vehicles also. But that's the driving force of the project is really the building itself, just getting those buses underneath the roof. In addition to getting the buses under roof, we're going to be, a portion of the fleet has already been changed over from diesel to compressed natural gas. So we're expanding that, reducing more of the diesel, expanding out the CNG to get a little bit more better environmental fleet on the for MCTA. We're going to be expanding out the actual parking space. Even though we're taking the MCTA fleet out of it, we're significantly increasing that to meet the current township requirements. Some of the side or other improvements we're doing here, as you can see, around the perimeter of the new building, we're putting additional landscaping. We had our landscape architect come out here. There's a good vegetation buffer between the MCTA facility, which is much lower, and residential properties, which are up higher. But what we're doing there is we're going to extend the 12-foot fence around the property, but we're also putting in some supplemental plantings to try and enhance that visual buffer or the landscape buffer between the two. We're doing stormwater management to address the increase in runoff, and you're going to see a few waiver requests associated with that. We were doing the testing for the stormwater facilities. I'm sure you're used to hitting bedrock, but we hit bedrock. So we're going to be doing MRC stormwater detention there. It's also sloped pretty steep, so we're going to be requesting some relief on the side slopes on the basins to try. What we want to do is minimize the tree removal as much as possible. So you're going to be seeing some associated waiver requests along with that. The final step is the existing MCTA building is in need of some improvements. So as part of the all the other improvements, we are going to be doing substantial improvements inside the building, which will be that'll be handled on the building permit stage. Not really here, but that is part of the project. I just wanted to point out. So I'm not really sure of the procedure here, but we've got a number of waiver requests that. Okay.
Explain for what you're asking for and why.
Okay. Let's see. The first was section 365.8L. Your ordinance requires that roof drains all be discharging to vegetation. With the system that we're putting in, we basically have a sea of concrete around our building just to facilitate the MCTA fleet. All the roof drains coming off the building are going to the MRC basin. So they're going into the conveyance system, then they're going down. They're going to be stored, slowly percolate into the ground. There's really no benefit to discharging a clean roof. If we discharge, it's going to be discharged to concrete. It's not going to be discharged to to grass. So,
You agree, John? Then I'll make a motion to approve waiver 365-8.L to allow roof drain to discharge stormwater. Is there a second? Second. Second by Brian. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Nays? Okay.
next up, we have 365-13B. And basically, we're designing the stormwater to both comply with the township requirements and with PADEP since we're into an NPDES permit. There's some variations between the methodology for the two of them. We're requesting to use the PADEP storm modeling methods, as that is the more recent methods and a little bit more stringent methods. It's easier to comply with PADEP, which does comply with the township, than the other way around.
Yes, we normally grant this waiver because of the difference between the two. And theirs is a more conservative, so it's more protection for the township.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 365-13.B, which will allow for the use of Pennsylvania Department of Protection storm cost method. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried.
All right, next up, we have 365-13C. This basically requires the modeling of existing cover back to a meadow condition. And what we're proposing is everything the area that's getting to the existing basin. There's an existing basin over next to the existing compressed natural gas area. We've designed this site to match the same drainage area and impervious cover getting to that basin. That basin is functioning now, but we want to just maintain that basin. So that's being modeled based on existing conditions, matching existing conditions to it. Everything that is not getting to that basin, all the other runoff coming off the site, is being modeled per the ordinance. But we want some relief on just what's getting to the existing basin.
Yeah, this came up and we had a pretty extensive discussion on it at the time the plans were originally submitted. We talked to the Monroe County Conservation District. The existing basin, which he was mentioning, which is on the left side of the drawing, that was, when that was designed, that was under applicable criteria for the existing conditions. So there's no need to, if we were to make them do it again, it would be almost like double dipping. So it wasn't necessary. So we recommend the waiver as it is requested. The new basins will comply with making the existing conditions considered meadow. So I think it's okay to approve this waiver.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 365-13.C to allow for the area tributaries to the existing basins to be modeled based on existing groundwater. Is there a second? Second by Mike. Discussion?
So, John,
Yes.
because of the new construction, there's no more water slides that old basin that there ever was.
No, yeah, we specifically designed the conveyance system to capture the same drainage area and match up the same, make sure we're matching the same percentage of impervious getting there. But we specifically spaced the inlets to match up the pre to post getting to that basin.
So you're not switching that on between two different areas?
No, it's basically it's that front parking lot. The existing parking lot there is mainly what's getting to the basin. And then there's some of the area around the CNG pumps and that area, just heading over there. Now, we don't have a lot of improvements going on in those two areas. We're going to maintain the front parking lot. We're going to expand it, but the new parking lot area goes to the new bed. The existing parking lot goes to the existing bed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next up we have section 390.21 or 29J6. There's a requirement to do a title search on the property to establish the ownership of the property. We just went through, I think it was somewhere between 6 to 9 months ago, we did a lot consolidation. MCTA purchased the rear of the property to allow for this, but we just went through the whole legal process of doing a lot consolidation to put the entire property under MCTA's. So we didn't feel that doing another title search
within a year of a lot consolidation just seemed like an unnecessary expense to put on MCTA.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 390-49.J, 6, eliminate the requirement for a title search. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Discussion.
This is
Because of when they acquired the property, they did a search, which I'm sure required that it was cleared of all liens. Now that they own the property, I doubt that MCTI is putting any liens on it. I mean, you could get it in just an updated search for that year, but I'm comfortable with the proximity of the search. That was a good question. I'm comfortable.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
We're getting into stormwater for a little while here. 390-50D5 is to allow for the basin slopes greater than 4-to-1. We're proposing a 3-to-1, and the 3-to-1 we feel is manageable. You get above that, it becomes difficult to maintain, to mow. But yeah, we're taking this from the township required 4-to-1, which is a very shallow slope, which would require a lot more tree removal.
Everything's sloping down towards the stream, so it's steep slopes in here. So trying to catch the slope at 4-to-1 would be a lot more clear in this area. So we minimize by 3-to-1. At 3-to-1, we should be able to easily maintain the side slope of the basin.
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve waiver 390-50.D, 5, allow the basin slopes greater than 4.1 to the 3.1 proposed. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, next up we have 390-50D8. Is a very similar requirement, but the ordinance requires a 2% minimum slope on the bottom of basins. With this being an MRC basin, which allows the water to filter down through the engineered soil to an underdrain and then back up, it requires a flat surface in order for it to properly function.
Yes, we don't have the criteria in our ordinance for the MRC basin, so our ordinance hasn't been written to accommodate that type of design, but their request is certainly reasonable under the conditions if that's what they have.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 390-50.D, allowing for less than 2% slope in the bottom of the basin as an MRC basin as proposed. Is there a second? Second. Second by Brian. Discussion. This is one of the next thing. The planning commission on the zoning review. We're going to do a deep dive in this outlet. These are becoming shallow living beds. We did a thing last year. And that's the same with 3-to-1 sides.
Right, and the rainfall criteria, using we grant that waiver every time. Yeah, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next up, we have 390-55D1A. This requires street trees to be planted along public roads. Our frontage for a public road is 611. 611 basically has utility poles with overhead wires, and then existing trees right behind that, where the existing trees are basically as close as I think utility companies want the trees to be to to the roadway and to the overhead wires. So in working with your engineer, we tried to push more of the trees back onto the site where they would be a little bit more beneficial. But there's not really a lot of room along 611. It's not either going to obstruct the view down 611 for buses leaving MCTA, interfere with the overhead wires, or cause other problems down there.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 390-55.D, 1, A, required street trees along the existing streets. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mike. Discussion.
John, is that aesthetics?
primarily spent.
And there's a lot of trees between 611 and MCTA. So
You can't do that.
no. Next we have.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Aye. Motion carried.
Yeah, now we have 39055E3, which is similar to the first requirement we just talked about for 2% slope. There's another requirement that says it has to be a minimum of 1% slope, and with the MRC basin is not plausible. So requesting relief of 1% bottom slope on the basin.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 390-55.E.3 along the road, less than 1% slope from bottom elevation and MRC basin is proposed. Is there a second? Second. Second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, next up is a deferral request, and this is for section 39048AA. And there's a requirement for sidewalk to be installed along public roads also. We don't have there's no sidewalks anywhere near this site. There's nowhere to take the sidewalks to. We're not looking for a complete waiver of this. We're just saying that if the neighboring properties, if it's the property on the other side of MCTA Drive gets developed, if some of the adjacent properties get developed, MCTA would be willing to install the sidewalk and crosswalks at that time.
Will that be incorporated in your plans with the county? So that you'll agree to put sidewalks in?
It could be put on the plans if you'd like. It's going to be part of the approval.
I would suggest that it's in the developer's agreement and a note on the plan if the referral is granted. Again, this is not a waiver. They never have to put sidewalks in. But just a deferral that the board of commissioners can call at any time.
All of our deferrals are developers' grants.
And like we should put a note.
We'd have no objection to that.
We'll make a motion to approve the deferral of 390-48.88 to allow for deferral of requirements of sidewalk volumes until sidewalks are extended to the area. Second. Second by Mike. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
All right, we have 4 to go. Just to kind of group these together, we had a meeting with some of the township staff to discuss these, but the MCTA project is it's obviously the transit authority for the area. This project is 100% state funded. It's being driven by PennDOT. We actually work for PennDOT. PennDOT's managing the entire project, but when it came down to that, we wanted to talk about some of the requirements as far as well. I'll just get right into them. But the first one was 36527A for the establishment and performance guarantee for the timely installation, proper construction of the stormwater management controls. But again, with this being a state-funded project being run by PennDOT, we're taking money from the state, escrowing it with the township. We just wanted, we would be willing to do the developers agreement. The MCTA solicitor is working with your solicitor to come up with a developers agreement, but we just wanted to get relief on the requirement to post up a performance bond.
The unique issue here is the state funding component of this project. Typically, developers are required to post bonds to guarantee that they do the work, and in the event they do not, then the township can call the bond with letter of credit and complete the work itself if need be, whether it be by outside contractors or public works. But this is a policy decision based upon the funding for this project.
Well, I just want to have, we know that the state is funding because we've waited 16, 7 years for our FEMA go grant. So I'm not in favor of government and guarantee.
Yeah, and that's the policy component.
Yeah, just so you know, the money for the state funding is allocated now. It is put aside. It is set for the project. Okay.
Well, I mean, you go back to the Green Light Go, I think more the funding issue, the COVID issue, getting material all together for that. I think this is something totally different.
The state doesn't pass their budget
started. But it's just there.
Well, it's also reimbursable, so you don't necessarily get money to have to do it. So
We do have a letter from the state of how much money has already been committed to this funded.
they have
50%. Now it's the last payment we received from the developer.
Leo, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
So with waiving, well, passing the deferral of the sidewalks, would the guarantee in the future, the bond, can that be used for the sidewalks should they fail to put the sidewalks in if the commissioners call for it?
It would depend on timing. And what I mean by that, if it's 10 years from now, if the sidewalks are called to be put in, all the other improvements will be completed, and any performance maintenance bonds, etc., will all be expired in the term.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So you're only asking for all the votes.
Yeah, there's about 3 in here that are all kind of the last 4.
And the other question I would have, if you do waive the requirement, you also waive the requirement for township inspection, or would you want them to post money for inspection?
And MCTA has, I mean, we posted for the application, paying the review fees for the application. They're not looking for any waiver for that. It was just basically posting the money into escrow and then taking the money or letter of credit or whatever needs to be established for this. So, yeah, no, that would be, we're not asking for any relief on that. We would still expect that.
Well, yeah, if we required it, they would submit an engineer's proposal to be reviewed by John's office. The amount would be agreed to, and then that would be posted cash, bond, etc. I don't think so.
the bond, that they have the amount of money, and we're 2-3 years out.
Well, that had to do with a commitment to do a pre-treatment facility, and that was done in the original agreement. And then it went from the pre-treatment facility that was not applicable to the situation to the EQ tank issues that we all know about. The answer to that question, though, is he came in with a check for that. So it wasn't a problem. It was never posted, but I don't recall that it required posting. They were obligated to do the work, but there was not a bond associated with it. Well, there wasn't, it doesn't matter. There was a letter of credit. I think the letter of credit still exists, right? I don't believe there are no. It was the amount that was in question. Now it's coming back. Yes, that is correct. Yep. So we did require it to go down into our sources.
Developer has to do it. And I would say the waiver sign for 365-179.
It's not a deal breaker. We're just, it's always no if you don't ask.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
The next one, 390-35, is the performance guarantee for the construction of public improvements. I'm not too sure that it falls in the same criteria as the previous one. And then the third one, not to establish an escrow fund to guarantee the operation of maintenance of the improvement. You're going to have to establish an escrow account. So as our zoning is out, inspects each phase, put in so on and so forth. State funded or not.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got to pay for that.
Just to clarify on that as well, the inspections are going to be building permit fee, the escrow is for John. Inspection.
Well, all right. Like, someone's going to do inspection to make sure that. And then, again, the fourth one, there's a fourth one.
For Rich, for record purposes, I would do a motion if the board is inclined to deny the waiver request, and then I would state the waivers, the sections that are being requested, but it would be a motion to deny those waivers. And then the next one is different.
All right, I'll just make a motion to not approve waiver 365-27 for the establishment of performance guarantee for retirement installation and proper construction costs for as required by the approved stormwater management site plan in the amount and method of the project state funded. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Lawyers, it's the 390-35 would also, if the board is inclined to deny that request for the waiver, the motion. I'll make a motion to deny waiver request 390-35 for the establishment of the performance guarantee for construction of public improvements as the project is state funded. Is there a second? Second by Mike. Discussion.
So, are we allowing John to determine, between John and Leo, to determine the amount and what is public versus private for each discussion as far as what's covered by and stuff that the public has no interest in? Brian, the answer to the question is that these are for public improvements for the state, not private improvements. NBC would give us a hard time. There's a lot of questions that want to hire agreed, and there's a gray area in making those arguments. And oftentimes, public and private improvements are included. But this is for a waiver for both public improvements. And the methodology with which the amount is determined is their engineer provides us with a cost estimate that is reviewed by John, and typically escrow is 110%. So, as a township, we're requiring. Well, no, that's what we're saying. You get to the question. The stormwater basin is going to be ultimately privately owned stormwater basin. But that's involved. And there's a gray area. So we require typically to ensure that it's built, we require escrow for that. Okay? There are private, let's say your walkways within the facility. They're going to be installed. I know we stretch it out to include that in case it's not installed because that's what public safety people walking. But I have received over the years probably pushback when it being purely private included. Whether we put it in or not, too darn bad. It's on the plan. We expect it to be approved. And I know John probably had some issue also. So, you know, when you say public improvements, we typically expand to what ultimately beyond. Like these basins that are going to be constructed, that's good. Even though they'll be private, they're publicly owned. They're private, but DEP has authority over it while they're being constructed, and typically those are included in the cost estimate for the project.
And I'm not going to step into the individual part, but the arguments that I've encountered in favor of escrowing on improvements is from the board's position, well, this is what we approved your plan for, and this is what we expect you to put in. And if you don't put it in, then you have to live up to your end of the agreement, and we have no recourse.
But why, if they stop midway through, they have the basis, and what we ask them to
they stop midway through what interest from the township has.
That's a good.
Whose is it?
Right, that's a very good question for a commercial development. For a residential development, it's totally different. Even if you only have one residence, and we've had this when the downturn in 2008, we've had partially completed projects. We only have 3 or 4 homes in there, but yet those people are expecting roads and sanitary sewer service, that type of thing, even though they were supposed to be private once they were completed.
Yeah, it's the same. Well, it's the same one commercial. You agree that these are the improvements you're putting in. There's a reason for those improvements, whether it's public safety, whether it's whatever it is. We try to stretch it a little, let you look into the magician's hat. Try to stretch it as far as we can, because you'll fill the room at various times if there's nothing but a money hole in the ground. Shouldn't be something else. And we've been challenged. We've won. As long as we've lost. Case by case basis. Case by case basis. All in favor? Aye. Any names? Motion carried. I guess we're down to waiver 39-38.C. Bracket 3, is that correct?
Yes. Very similar.
This is to eliminate the escrow fund to guarantee the operation for the project. Is that correct?
Yeah, this one's long term. I believe this one extends beyond the completion of the project. This is the escrow fund for future inspections down the road.
Give them that way first. We deny this one. If it's a board decision. But the problem with this is, and I'm not suggesting that the transit authority is anything like this, but detention basins, and I first started, were always publicly owned by municipalities. The big shift was that stormwater detention basins be private, which requires the owner to cut grass, requires the owner to make sure it's pumping properly, fix your outflows, fix your inflows, do all of that. The problem becomes what happens if the owner of the property neglects or fails to do that. And now your storage facilities are not functioning as they were designed. So this, in my opinion, would be a difficult one to bring a waiver on, because MCTA sells this facility to somebody else. They then decide they're going to collect them, do not do what they're supposed to do, maintain these, and now you have flooding on people's property. Now it becomes a township issue. They'll fill the room, the man can be done. There's a fund available.
And the one thing I'd like to add to that is probably like 10, 15 years ago, a lot of these basins were, set it and forget it. You build a basin and you kind of walked away, and they did become a major problem. DEP's kind of addressed that over the last 5 years or so by requiring us to record these NPDS plans or post-construction stormwater management plans and actually establish that this is going to be inspected every 6 months. This is going to be inspected every 12 months. So it's a matter of, whether that's being done by, it's got to be done by a licensed professional, whether it's the township doing it or if it's MCTA doing it. It's just a matter of who's doing that. But yeah, I think everybody agrees that these basins, they have to be maintained. It has to be done. So I think there's better requirements right now to force developers to do that, especially when there's an NPDS involved.
Yeah, I would too. There's people will be forced to have no retention basins there because during a heavy rainstorm, several inches of water, the outdoor truck water heads go on. So I don't believe my tenure here, I never deny or approve the waiver. So I'm going to make a motion to deny waiver 39-30.C, bracket 3, for the establishment of the escrow fund to guarantee the operation and make the improvement of the property maintained by the transit authority. Is there a second? Second by Mike. And I'll just elaborate there a little bit. I'm sure it was done properly, but I've never approved not having an escrow fund for something like this to make sure that it's not properly get inspected while they want. And you don't use a lot of your money to get it all back. John, this is a long term.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. How long?
For two.
Well, they don't get it. This is going to be up. So, great. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I thought that's good. No, this is to ensure this is to ensure that if there are repairs that are necessary, whether it be maintenance or actual repairs, and let's assume there are no funds by the owner to do so, there's a fund available to the township to get those repairs.
It's called an escrow. They do get them like that. Right? So is it
Not including all workers. You can escrow with them too. Yeah.
I don't know.
Here it's 15%. It's 15% of construction. How long is the detention bond? Yeah, but so it's recorded. The PCSF that's recorded. State that they were with county their obligations to maintain. This is a maintenance fund. This is a maintenance. The owner was belly out. The owner was belly out, and people were getting flooded. That's right. I still remember. Motion to deny 390-38.C. 3. So there's a motion. Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So, sir, I'm going to talk about the last one, 390-58.
Yeah, 39058 requires the establishment of open space or recreation areas, as part of the development of the property. The property itself is approximately 35 acres. The area that we're developing is about 10 acres of it. Between what we're doing, lot consolidation, which was taken over, which is a large area of steep slopes, heavy boulder material, heavily vegetated, which is going to be left alone. We're leaving a lot of our lot undisturbed, but with this being a transit authority, we're not.
So I'll make a motion to approve with 390-58 for the establishment of common open space. And the discussion.
I agree with you, and I think we do this for everyone just like this because nobody's staying there. They're not going to use our parks. So I agree with you totally. This is not necessary. And you should care. Also,
I think every development to look at each individual separate. Not just put a wide cast net and say approach those.
that's amazing. Well, okay. We should rewrite that for yourself.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any names? Gentlemen, thank you very much. Good luck with your project. Over there, so good resources.
We'll be back soon, right? We're on the agenda later again, or? But appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Nate Order here for Brookdale Spot Waiver Request.
Nate is here. While he's setting up, I thought I'm glad you're warmed up because we have some waiver requests ourselves here.
Before you get started,
Yes.
I need to make a public disclosure that I have a conflict of interest in this applicant. They are a client of my CPA firm, so I will be abstaining from discussion and vote.
We're here tonight on the Brookdale Spa project. This is a 32-acre parcel over on Bath Mountain Road. It is directly across the street from the existing Brookdale Drug and Alcohol facility. The proposal is for a Nordic-style spa with outdoor thermal and hydrothermal amenities, and also a two-story building, a spa building, which will have traditional spa services, a restaurant, things like that. Tonight we're here on a series of waivers that we're requesting in connection with the development of the project. And we're also here to obtain conditional preliminary approval of the land development plan as recommended by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission considered these waiver requests at its meeting on June 9th. There were 20 waiver requests and one request for determination that covered two issues. The Planning Commission recommended approval of 18 of the requests and then simply advised that the remaining three were really up to the Board of Commissioners and their discretion to grant the applicant. Nate is here to provide an overview of the project, reorient the board on the project since it's been a little time since we've been here. The plan is to go through the 18 waivers as you just did with the prior applicant. And again, the Planning Commission recommended approval of all 18 of those waiver requests. And then we'll end with the three remaining requests where the Planning Commission thought that wasn't their role to provide a recommendation, but rather the issue should be decided by the Board of Commissioners. So with that, I'll... Yeah. Yes, sir. I certainly can.
This is the summary that you have and the individual detailed requests that were made. The highlighted items of the plan for commission will be ready to do legal requirements. So they made recommendations on what so really two of them were shaded out here.
There's three.
So they're the same way I already talked about. And it's my understanding this is their policy if they don't make recommendations. That's considered commissioner items.
So just as a brief update, we've been before you before, working on this project for a year now with all the outside agencies and your planning commission. We've been before you a few times, I think, with sewage planning and also with some waiver requests related to street improvements. This is Brookdale Road, Dyson Road, Back Mountain Road here. Right there. So the site has quite a few constraints on it that we've worked around and worked with your planning commission. Many of these waiver requests are related to trying to minimize impacts to wooded areas, steep slopes, buffers. As you can see, here again, we have a wetland and stream corridor down here. This area is all buffers. This is Back Mountain Road. All of this area down here is buffer that's related to the stream across the street and wetlands. So we put our access in at this location, which is really the gap we have between the stream buffers. Critical not only for the township, but also for our NPDS permit. We're bringing the access in at this location. Coming up, protecting steep slopes. The primary area of steep slopes and wooded areas are along Back Mountain Road in this area here. So we're trying to bring our road up, climbing up to get the grade up to the area that's developable up here outside those constraints. And so you'll see some of the waiver requests about the grade of this road and other waivers to do that. The main spa area proposed here, about 38,000 square feet proposed. There's an outdoor spa area here, which will be comprised of smaller buildings and outdoor pools. There will be a maintenance building up here, which will house our water system up there, as well as the maintenance equipment necessary to run the project. And then there's an employee housing facility here, which will give them the option if they find that they need on-site housing to attract the staff they need. That's an option for them to construct that. There is a well that has been drilled for a on-lot central water system. We initially drilled up behind the maintenance building, hoping to get a well that was close to where we were treating the water. That did not work out. We didn't get the flow we needed. We drilled down here closer at the bottom of the hill, and that worked very well. So we have a well that's tested there, 69 gallons a minute, which is just under 100,000 gallons a day, of which we only estimate we need about 18,500 gallons. So we got a good well. The chemical results just came back and said it was adequate. DEP's been involved. Your township engineer's been involved. So we're getting through the testing on that, and we will be submitting the DEP permit now this week.
Hey, Dave, you have the microphone to speak. That's briefly.
I'm sorry. So just saying we have an on-site well has been tested and adequate for the project. The sewage will be conveyed by gravity down to a pump station and then pumped over to the Brookdale wastewater treatment plant.
Is that adequate?
It is. We've gone through DEP with there's plenty of capacity in that existing treatment plant, and we've gone through the sewage exemption process with DEP, where they have confirmed the allocation of sewage flow to this property. So I don't know what order. Do you have the same order that's on my list here? Okay, so if we skip over the grayed out items, we start with, which is Township Comment 29, or 25, I'm sorry, 390-48T13A. Is that the first one you have? Okay. All right, and this is really, so we're later on the agenda for a request for preliminary plan approval. So this is really a final plan approval condition, but we can talk about it now and get your opinion on it. We will be providing a security for all the required improvements to make sure that the required improvements we have in our plan, as discussed, will be installed. Your township will inspect them, and that will just be for the duration until those are installed. This again is the financial security for facilities such as stormwater management. I think in this case, and I understand your point on stormwater management, but we'll also have a water system, which is a well coming up here, storage tanks, which only serves our project. So I think we do have some different kind of issues here. What I would suggest for that is we work out with an agreement. We certainly are going to have agreements that we need to maintain these things, but it's a little different than the last application. So I think I just ask that request be deferred until final plan so that we can go through, confirm exactly what the township is looking for to be included in that maintenance fund, and work out the language in the developer's agreement. So I think if we could just defer that request for tonight, we'll pick that up with final plan.
And when you say defer, we will address it now.
We'll address it.
We don't need to address it tonight.
We will address. So we're hoping to get preliminary plan approval tonight, which will allow us to proceed with construction. We'll have to file a final plan then, which will have developer's agreement, the financial security. Many of those things have already been submitted, but it's just a separate process, John. That's what you understand how this would work. Yes. So we would address that not tonight, but prior to final plan approval.
So you're asking that waiver request be made, but that we do not consider it tonight.
That's correct.
So when you use the term defer, it'll be there, it'll show up in comments, but we won't hear it for final plan. We'll have our conversation.
Correct. Yeah. Agree, Jeff?
Yes. Agree to the reminder that the background.
That is our intention, yes. So we have the other update we have is our NPDS permit draft has been issued. I believe the public comment period is up, and so we're hoping that we will have a NPDS permit in the next week or so, and then pull all this together at the same time. There is a stream crossing permit for the sewer line, and that's really just being held up for permit coordination, so we'll have that. We will not have our water supply permit in hand. We'll have all the pieces together that we need now. Everything is positive. We'll make that submission to DEP and work with them to see how they can see how that falls in their schedule. But we would look at it.
If you get approval,
right?
It would be more appropriate to actually address this. Financial security. Well, they can't move any final occupancy permits or anything else until final plan is approved and recorded. Right? They're going to break ground on this. They're doing it at their own risk. On the preliminary plan. And I'm sure that's sophisticated enough to understand it. Right. So
So they don't get modified to the rest of the
This is the same thing that LPH did, taking it upon themselves and issuing basic help.
but it's not a development. Understood. Okay. So the next waiver request is 390-48T13A related to driveway slopes. Your ordinance has a driveway grade limitation of 10%. Again, by going to 12%, it allows us to, and we took this extra long route as long as we could make it, to try to gradually get up in grade to reach this development area up here, and it really reduces the amount of earth disturbance and impacts along that roadway. By keeping it at 12%, it pretty much fits the grade, centerline grade of what's proposed.
This is what's the planning commission.
That's correct. Recommended for approval by your engineer and planning commission.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 390-48.T bracket 13 bracket driveway slope of 12%. Second. Mike, discussion.
It's pretty much this whole distance here is, from right in here is 12%. So I would estimate 80 scale. So it's 700 feet at 12%.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need to abstain. They're fine.
Next item is 390-48W1. This was previously, as police discussed on the previous application. The maximum slope of any earth embankment or excavation shall not exceed 1 foot vertical to 3 foot horizontal. We have had a geotech looked at the soils, confirmed that a 2-to-1 slope is acceptable, 2 horizontal to 1 vertical, and we're proposing that to minimize the impacts to existing features on the site.
Make a motion to approve waiver 390.48.W bracket 1 side slopes. Is there a second? Second. Mike, discussion. It's rock.
It's rock. What?
It's rock.
Some places it's it's a combination of both. Cut, fill throughout the site. We have fills that we're proposing at 2-to-1, and we have cut slopes at places that we're proposing 2-to-1.
We asked for a geotechnical report. They said that they use the proper construction methods and erosion control that they developed to be able to get soils on site. So I'm willing to defer to their geotechnical engineer on this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. 390-50-D-5. This is also about slopes on detention basin berms, saying that they should be 4 horizontal to 1 vertical. Typically, what is consistent with DEP and what our geotechnical engineers advise is suitable is to go 3-to-1 on one side and 2-to-1 on the other side. We've done that on a lot of projects. It's worked out. Geotech has confirmed it's acceptable. And again, it really helps us, especially down here, like in this flat area, we're up against this wetland buffer. All that helps get the required volume we need without impacting those buffers.
Make a motion to approve waiver 390-50.D bracket 5 grade side slopes. Is there a second? Second. Mike, discussion.
John, this condition is
Permitted. Oh, wait.
can we add other chemicals the geotech reevaluation?
I would think so. I mean, you're right. Conditions.
Yeah, we should have that. We should have to reevaluate whether or not make sure they're considered stable. The conservation issue is also stable. But
I'll accept your 90%. I'll accept it. All in favor? Aye.
abstain.
Okay, the next few we have are related to the water system. The water system proposed, there's a well down here. That well pumps up to the maintenance building. In the maintenance building, there's storage tanks and a booster pump, which delivers it down to the spa building and picks up these other buildings on the way. Your ordinance talks about a loop water system, which would be, makes sense in a residential neighborhood where you have streets and loops. This is a really kind of simple central water system. It's got basically a well up to the storage and back down. There's just no real opportunity to loop it or need to. So that's a relief of the requirement to have a looped water system.
So I guess you're okay if it's cut, use water that cover space.
That's correct. We're relying on the water lines direct. The supply isn't required to be looped. That is kind of the same situation. And yes, we'll only have one supply line down. It's not, terribly long, and we control the whole area. But yes, that would be the only advantage of having a loop system. There is a separate fire line and a separate domestic water use line. So those will be independent of each other.
So I'll make a waiver, motion to approve waiver 390-52.e, bracket 4, bracket 9, bracket 1, and bracket 4, and water system. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
Abstain.
390-52E, 4I, 20A. Water line should be a minimum of 8-inch diameters. In this case, it was actually determined that to get a velocity in this pipe to keep the water moving, keeping sediment from reducing, that it should only be a 6-inch, it should be less than 8-inch. So that was actually a recommendation from your engineer that if we need that, request that waiver, and that's the reason for requesting that waiver.
Make a motion to approve waiver 390-52.e, bracket 4, bracket 9, bracket 20, bracket 4, size. Your second? Second. Second. Mike, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
Abstain.
Next one is section 390-52E6D6. Again, this, a lot of your requirements in your ordinance envisioned a well that would serve a community, not just one user, and have a bigger demand. We have our well down here. We were able to monitor other wells on the property and do that during the study. Your ordinance requires a minimum of 6. I think we had 4. And at least one well should be no more than 500 feet from the test. I think we're slightly over that to get to the well across the street. We met all the DEP standards for the well testing. I think the testing, we've submitted that to your engineer, is very clear. This is a good well. It's well set back from the other adjoiners, and there was very minimal impact to the wells that were observed, in close proximity. So it's just a waiver of some of the specifics of the water test standards in favor of what DEP requires.
I'll make a motion to approve waiver 390-52.e, bracket 6, bracket D, bracket 6, monitoring well. Second. Second by Brian. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Item 390-52E6D9. This is about the pumping test. The standard you have is more suited for like a public water supply permit, like a BCRA well potentially. This again only serves this property. As it turns out, we've got 69 gallons a minute, which is probably 5 times more water than we would actually need. We did run a 24-hour test, right, on that well to show that it's adequate. Your ordinance suggests a 42 or 70-hour test or a 42-hour pump test with a 72-hour monitoring. Just excess of what DEP requires for this classification of well and what's needed for this specific site.
I'll make a motion to approve 390-52.e, bracket 6, bracket D, bracket 9, 12. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mike. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. Next is about sewer lines, 390-52G1B8. Again, this is a consistency of concrete encasement with DEP standards. Your ordinance has a slightly higher standard. It says sewers shall be located within 10 feet horizontal of any obstruction. Sewers must be a minimum of 10 feet from water mains or 18 inches measured. Top of the sewer to the bottom of the water main, under the same. When a sanitary sewer line crosses above a sewer line, basically, it needs to be encased. So what we're proposing is concrete encasement will provide as required where sewer mains cross water mains per DEP requirements. A waiver of the requirement to concrete encased sewer pipes that cross storm sewer pipes with less than 18 inches. That's the waiver request we're requesting. So only where they cross storm sewer lines.
The critical concern would be the water line. You don't want any pollution anywhere, but there's still not separation. So
Make a motion to approve waiver 390-52.G(1)(B)(8). Concrete encasement of storm sewer not required, minimum 12 inches of separation and 90 feet.
second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. The next is relating to tree preservation, 390-55B1A. One is that your ordinance requires that you survey locate every tree over 12 inches. I mean, this is a wooded site on 30 acres. There's a lot of trees that qualify for that. Our goal was to preserve the mass areas, especially the treed areas in the stream and wetland buffers and on the steep slope areas. And then, as far as we're proposing to put a nylon strap and just put it all the way down on the limits where the trees are proposed to be preserved. So I think we meet the intent of the ordinance. It just was relative to the site seemed excessive to meet the actual the way the ordinance is written.
Motion to approve waiver 390-55.B(1)(1). System trees. Second. Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Approved.
Okay, 390-55C2E. Basically to allow. Oh, did I? Which one did I skip? Okay, I'm sorry. That I kind of covered both of those in the same. It's the same section with two different waiver requirements. So that would be related to. It's the same. It's two requirements within the same section. So we actually split it into two different waivers.
Approved waiver 390-55.B delineate existing trees for preservation. Is there a second? Second by Brian.
Abstain.
Planting islands. We have a variety of landscaping in the planting islands. We have more planting islands than required. It was desired to use rock mulch in some areas. Some areas are vegetated, but for ease of maintenance and rock mulch is not specifically allowed by your. Talks about ground cover by your ordinance. So this is a waiver request to use rock mulch in some areas.
Second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
390-55D1A is related to street trees and using existing vegetation. You'll see on the following page there's a picture there along Back Mountain Road where we intend to leave the existing vegetation service street trees.
Second. Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
390-50-D-8, the bottom slope on the basin. again, I think you've heard this before, ordinance requires a minimum of 2%. The problem is when you're trying to do infiltration, you can't have that slope where part of the basin gets dry. So this is to be consistent with DEP requirements and meeting infiltration needs.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve 39-55.E.3 and 390-50.D bracket 8 basin side weight basin bottom. Second. Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Abstain.
390-55E3, these are kind of related to other waivers that have been granted. One is to have a zero slope basin for evapotranspiration where we're not trying to drain the basin. And the other is for the side slopes, as we described, being 3-to-1 and 2-to-1 on basins.
Make a motion to approve waiver 390-55F C in bracket F. Site element screen base 1%. Second. Discussion.
I'd like to add the amendment that we hear evaluates the slopes once or twice that we know. There's two under the previous one. One is the side slopes, which is what we just started on, not the site.
I'm sorry?
You have two under that.
Two under that.
55D-3 and 55D-B. They're listed. You just said 55.
D8.
Yeah, no, it's like approved by D.3, 390.50. Yeah.
I think, let me just see. Okay, so that's under, yeah.
What I would do is just do the second one, because the discussion involved the first one, then you went into the second with the side slopes. And we just make a separate motion for 390-50. Make it like you approve 390-50. Bottom, the base of bottom.
So D8 is the base and bottom. I discussed the base and bottom under E2, but so E should have just been the side slopes. You're right.
So the motion would be 390-55
3.
I'll make a motion to approve 390-55.E, bracket 3. Basin side slopes. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion.
Chair, evaluation puts in place size of
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Abstain.
Okay, now we're 55F, bracket 4, bracket 8.
Yes, C and F. So there's a buffer requirement from detention basins. So along this property line here, there's a driveway here, the utility line, and there's a basin infiltration, evapotranspiration basin proposed here. The landscaping along here, we're providing the landscaping. The ordinance says on a 2 to 3 foot berm, but this is the emergency spillway where this would come out and come down here. So the berm would tend to push the water over onto the adjoining property. So we're offering to put the plantings in, just asking not to put the berm in that would impact the stormwater flow from the emergency spillway.
We'll make a motion to approve 390-55, bracket 4, bracket C, and bracket F, site open screen basin 1. Second. Second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, if we're touching all these with the grayed out ones too, the next one is 390-58 relative to the open space fee in lieu of. It's a 30-acre site. This project provides supportive tourism. It provides activities for people to do. It's going to have a positive tax impact of approximately $500,000 estimated just in property tax. And it doesn't really generate any new residents. But, the only new residents would be people who are coming here to work at the facility. So there's not an increased demand for open space.
Yeah, that's his question. They know township residents just on the property, recreate, walk around.
No.
That's kind of like to improve our parks. New parks I've never my made
It was just a great way we were granted for the previous application. But this is a final plan. We can defer that. We can discuss it now. Again, every project is different, as you stated. Again, this is a form of recreation, not open to the public necessarily, but open to the public for a fee. It does have a very positive tax impact in terms of taxes, property taxes, employment, and it doesn't, generate residents like a residential. So I'll throw that out there. You can vote on that tonight. We can defer that to the final plan. That's when the final plan determination, or we can address that at the final plan, as I think corrected me.
I don't think the ordinance requires the public. Or I also don't think it should be. So I think we should what we've done with every other project. I think a public entity is today. But I think we have to take this part. There's a big open space issue that we can put it off until the final plan.
I think that's, Leo, that would be acceptable to you.
Yeah, that's fine. It's going to be there.
Right.
You come to the final plan, we'll have addressed it or discussed it, or, you may not get final plan approval.
Understood. And we're looking for preliminary tonight. We will be back with all our agreements, and we could address it at that time if the board is willing, or if it's really your call. Okay. Move on to parking space width. This is a waiver we've gotten many times. Just that the zoning ordinance only requires a 9-foot. The SALDA requires a 10-foot wide parking space. And in the effort to make our impacts as compact as possible, we are going with a 9-foot width, and we need a waiver from the subdivision land development ordinance.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Abstain.
36513B, you've heard this one before. This is about the method we use for stormwater management. This is the method used is consistent with the NPDS permit. Your ordinance has a slightly different version. Ask for a waiver to use what's consistent with the NPDS permit.
Agree with that, sir? Yes. I'll make a motion to approve 5-13, bracket B, grade, fall, intensity data. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carried.
36513D is the method used for time of concentrations, which is part of the stormwater calculation. We used a acceptable method that isn't the one in the ordinance, but acceptable for the NPDS permit, and we'd ask to get that waiver.
Yes. Make a motion to approve 365-13, bracket D, rational method. Is there a second? Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Abstain.
Motion carried.
365-8.L. This is previously discussed in the previous project about disconnecting roof drains. The goal was that you didn't take the roof drain, stick them right in a pipe, and stick it in the creek. the way all our stormwater management's designed now, that's really not a.
Make a motion to approve resolution 5-8.L, roof drains to discharge storm sewer. Is there a second? Second by Brian, discussion. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Abstain.
And the final one is a determination of the sidewalk and also concrete aprons at the driveway. If we were required to construct sidewalks on this property along Back Mountain Road, where's my existing features? As you can see, this was in line in red would be a sidewalk along Back Mountain Road. We've provided sidewalks within our project to get from all our facilities, from the parking to the building. We don't expect anyone will be walking up from here to access our site. If we had to build this red line of sidewalk, it would be an encroachment in all those buffers that are outlined there. It would require grading. The stormwater now that comes down there in ditches and then pipes across the road. A sidewalk would fill that in. We'd have to do grading, back to steep slopes. It would really be a project breaker for this if we had to construct sidewalks all the way down Back Mountain Road. So this is a determination that says the supervisors may require this. In this case, it's just there's no adjacent sidewalks. We're well back from Route 611, and because of the environmental constraints on this property, I just don't think it could feasibly be accomplished.
Make a motion to approve waiver 390-48.AA sidewalks along Back Mountain Road. Is there a second?
Rich, sorry. Could you defer me just in case in the future some crazy development on Back Mountain Road? I don't know that there would be, but if you defer it 30, 40, 50 years from now, there may be a need for it. If you waive it, you never have to do it. That's typically what I've seen. That's a good situation.
But in this case, the environmental constraint, I just don't know that it's feasible. And that's to put this project under the potential that someone could say, well, now we've decided now's the time, and pose a condition that would be, because of the environmental constraints. Your buffers, your steep slope constraints, the drainage on a township road. I understand the goals of getting sidewalks and that flexibility, but in this case, I don't know that it can feasibly be done in the scope of this project.
Leo, thank you for your comments. That was really concerned, but there's motion second.
Well, that would be if you were required years from now to have to make constraints to encourage them, which you can do to allow the sidewalk in. I'm just saying 50 years from now, none of us will be here to decide what this is. So maybe we need to start again.
And these buffers are not only your buffers; they're also the MPDS buffers. So it's not as simple as the township waiver.
So, all in favor? Aye. Did the text say?
Yes, I.
Abstain.
The concrete aprons is related. That's just that concrete aprons are required when you do sidewalk right on either side of the driveway. So it's like two little concrete apron pads. So we request that as well.
Middle of the driveway being like blacktop.
This will be curved. Curved? Right in that area. The blacktop. Curved and then blacktop with there's a small median. No.
I'll approve waiver 390-48.T, right, 48.3. All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll get our NPDS permit.
Okay, hearing the state here earlier, so we have resolutions. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-24 granting conditional approval of 1512 and 1516 Shady Lane lot consolidation, LDP 1443. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025 granting conditional approval of MCPA expansion LDP 1437 as recommended by the planning commission. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-26 granting conditional preliminary approval of Brookdale Spa LPP 1425 as recommended by the planning commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carried. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-27 granting conditional approval of Camp Winter Dining Hall expansion LDP 1372A as recommended by the planning commission. Is there a second? Second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on to the consent agenda, I'll make a motion for the consent agenda following items. All business consisting of minutes of the June 2nd, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, ratification of financial transactions through June 16, 2025 as presented, including ratification of expenditures of $421,925 for the following accounts: general funds, sewer operations, gross payroll, capital reserve, construction fund, and transfers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried. I'll make a motion to approve the old business consisting of minutes of June 16, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Is there a second? Second. Second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried. I'll make a motion for the financial transactions through July 7, 2025 as presented to the application of $634,729.67 for the following accounts: general funds, sewer operations, gross payroll, capital reserve, construction fund, and transfers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Under personnel, under mine, I would make a motion to approve the following Pocono Township Police Department policies. First Amendment assemblies, traffic, impairment drive, civil disputes, traffic accidents, traffic and parking citations, suspicious activity reporting vehicle towing, disabled vehicles, service of court documents, vehicle towing, investigations and prosecutions, sexual assault investigations, asset forfeiture, informants, eyewitness identification, Brady information, warrant service, operation planning and deconviction, Department of Owned and Personal Property, personal communication device, and vehicle maintenance. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mike. Discussion.
I don't know what Brady information is.
I think that Brady shot is going over Brady administration. From the chief of property. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember exactly what that was. You've done that a year ago. So it is great information that the officers found that I'm not sure understand that some kind of fund that's policy, criminal policy that must be disclosed and rated as agreed by the district attorney. So that every case where he's doing where that officer is involved, there'll be a notation there is truthful and that's correct. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried. I'll make a motion to purchase Jimmy equipment and 3-year preventative maintenance from July 5th, VA Coast Guard benefit amount of $142,602.75. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mike. Discussion.
Did you?
I did. Okay. Volumes of it, but I did.
And
it was fine.
So the preventative maintenance, I thought that was only like once a year, once a year.
From when I read it, it was twice a year.
Twice a year. And you also had a question about the American Steel Act.
Yes.
Utilizing American Steel, tariffs, plastic, steel, and stuff.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. I'll make a motion to approve the reduction of irrevocable letter of credit for Traffic Enterprises LLC highway occupancy permit security. The new security amount will be $53,658.78, which is 20% of the original value amount. Is there a second? Second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried. Ms. Lee, you have something in your report?
Yes, I have a motion, please. Last meeting we discussed a traffic study for Scott Run Avenue and Babbling Brook. And I'd like to make a motion to authorize T&M Engineering to perform a traffic study to evaluate safety.
I'll second that motion. Discussion.
What is the problem? The reporting problem there? Speeding? I mean, somebody came in and spoke to it, right?
I think the last meeting was whether a stop sign was warranted, and there's a single stop sign at the intersection. There's a single stop sign. Would it be warranted for an all-way stop? So that was the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Mr. May?
Yes. Update on the solar field. I'm a little confused because I know you said they had more criteria, John, but then Jared had said that doesn't mean they can do anything yet. So is that the way it works? Good DEP.
I heard this rumor that DEP was going to do something, but I haven't seen anything. As far as I know, the County Conservation District has no further concerns. I have no further concerns. So as far as I'm concerned, they did reach out to DEP and they said they commented on the investigation. As of our last board meeting, they can't work other than ENS. But ongoing enforcement issue now, so they can't. There's nothing.
People discuss that they can't go in there and put up solar panels.
Do they? Can they inform of that, Ryan? Yes. Okay. Because the last conversation I had with them, I should say my staff, they thought they could move forward. So this was our last board meeting as well. It wasn't so. Yeah. So, I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is the representative alongside said it's okay for them to move forward, and we said no because we still had outstanding conditions before the 12th. I think that was out. Okay, I think that very well be. There was nothing back there. As of the 12th. Yeah, but this was happening the 12th.
So can we find out for sure? Because how are we going to inspect it? If they're not supposed to be doing something that they are, how are we going to know?
Well, we're inspecting, but I will contact conservation tomorrow and get confirmation.
Would it be, I know they've appointed.
They're not going to say.
Well, can't they just tell us if they're allowed to continue or not? That's all we need. That's easy. It's a delegated. So if the hole is still there, but no doubt.
All that. They are set for re-inspection this week from NCC.
Well, the panel, I believe we discussed that probably enough for tonight. See what happens next week. That's here. Right. recap. Okay. Is this board intending to do anything about the non-SPOS ordinance that was drafted one way and advertised to the public another way? And the fire company might be under a misunderstanding of what is to be done. I think we have a duty to do something about this, not just let it go.
I don't see any reason to further discuss it. Advertise, approve the ordinance, and I'm only one, so I don't think to open it up again and to amendments to it, or move on. Let the business put the lockbox or the lockbox in front of them for their own safety and security. So the fire company doesn't have to break a window or tell you the issue with the amount of money that costs for not for any stuff that the board industry would have to take their time and stay protected.
Mr. President, I do have one of our assistant chiefs here, along with Morgan, in regards to if we want to have a discussion or if you just want to give a general update.
I still want to say something really about that. But then, yeah. Leo, from a legal perspective, we have an ordinance that says X. We advertise Y. People are doing things they don't have to do. And we're going to sit back and say that's okay because I'm not okay with that. If I have to get my own lawyer to bring it to this board, I would do that and amend this, or whatever you call that. But we have a duty to the public to advertise properly, and we did not. We also have a duty to converse with the fire department to make sure that they understand the ordinance and that we understand what's in it. And clearly we don't. I know Natasha had a little problem with it too. If you want to speak to that, Natasha.
My concern was the fine structure that was implemented in the ordinance.
We could open it limited. There's only something that's not wasn't correct in the letters. I think we should get it right. And I also have concern fine should be paid for it. So we end up with compliance, but not.
So we have the issue, and I read it out at the last meeting, that only people with fire alarms, unless it's new construction or a new addition, need to have this non-SPOS. I don't know if the fire company is under that impression, or if they thought it was different. But we need to, I want you to have the right information, because people get mad at you, and you don't need that, you need donations. So I think we should straighten it out.
Well, the issue is, number one, do you agree with the ordinance and how the ordinance is worded? And number two, does notification to affected property owners set out correctly what the ordinance requires?
And I would say it does not.
Well, but that's the issue. So the first issue is, do you agree with the context of the existing ordinance? And that has to do with, as I understand it, the concerns from this board. Number one, the applicability of it and who it applies to. And number two, whether or not non-compliance should result in fines, and if so, how much. That's the first issue the board would consider. The second issue is to make sure that letters are sent to property owners, it correctly sets forth the requirements and whether or not their building is recorded. Those are the two issues. The first issue is a policy issue for the board, and the second is a ministerial issue to make sure that notifications that are sent out are consistent with what the ordinance requires.
So I'm going to ask the fire company, what is your interpretation of the needs?
As far as if they have an alarm, there's not fire alarm. Fire alarm versus fire alarm.
Right.
I think it's good for both, and non-fire alarm and fire alarm.
But our ordinance only addresses if you have a fire alarm, you need I didn't think you were aware.
The ordinance specifically says automatic fire detection. Under the IDC, that's being a fire alarm, like smoke detectors, heat detectors, things of that nature. So
some people don't have.
Well, everybody's got smoke. Almost, there's going to be very few commercial properties that don't have those installed because under the IDC they require.
But that's not the way it reads. I certainly didn't interpret that. Can you look at that? Because that's not the way I interpret it.
I don't have a copy with me. I don't think it's been sent out to general code yet. Sure. Okay. So I have to look at that and get back to you. Should we ask Leo to first the letter? Yeah, I've never seen the letter. And then we can decide. To me, it's I agree for it. Yeah, absolutely. And then we decide what it will be.
I think we need to address what does it really say? And yeah, I'm not going to find I'm not even necessarily ordinance. I think it could be voluntary. Start there. Majority rules, but I am not okay with the ordinance saying one thing and we said something else.
Well, let's say that we agree with the ordinance meeting. We don't have to read local letter to the board. And if there's inconsistency, we'll fix that. But I do agree with Brian and Corey. Everybody should have. And they have to thank you, Paul, for that, that explanation of an alarm. I'm a very large person. I find smoke detector in most every business here in town. And if they don't have one, then maybe we need to look into what for that. Because my God, you don't want something. There's no one building to have smoke in it. What comes that fire?
Well, I also think part of the fire company's issue was they're getting called out and they're waiting. But a lot of these call outs from your reports I looked at are false alarms. So you're right, you're waiting for nothing. Maybe there's not. So, but we do, I think, have a penalty for that. I know the fire company doesn't apply it, but they would have to tell us we have two offenders. And we already have one against for that. So we're not using it. So I don't.
It's true. You have 3 balls on within a certain period of time. But Leo reviewed our reports, we'll review the letter, and report back to the board.
Jerry, could you give me a copy of the letter?
It's already months.
Thank you.
And John McLean is on if anyone wants to ask any questions for him as well.
Yeah, my only thing is if it means everybody, they're wanting to put that clause in there. That was meant to limit it. So, but we don't know on the first few.
Yeah, no, I will. I mean, the IFC defines alarm as smoke detectors.
So it would be under the PAUCC, only the IBC, so International Building Code, is
Building
formally adopted. The IFC can't be adopted in part when it's called out by the IBC.
I don't think we have. Have we? We have adopted international fire.
No, so anywhere in the IBC that directly calls out the IFC, that's when it's adopted. So under Chapter 9, the IBC is the relevant chapter that we're discussing. Deal with fire.
And does that define? Give you examples of fire alarms?
So we would have to double check the exact wording. Do that.
What would you go about post meeting? That's fine. Thank you.
Jared, I could add, if I have a second, I mean, it involves not just fire alarms, but also any sprinkler systems, anything that requires a notification would also be going to the fire department, go to dispatch, and the fire department would be called out. So it's above and beyond smoke detectors or fire alarms. It's a lot of aspects of the building that this would cover. And I can tell you, since I've been doing this work since 2001, worked with a lot of different fire departments in Bucks County, Montgomery County, outside of Philadelphia, and I've never seen a downside to the Knox box ordinance. It's always been a benefit to those communities. and I really think it's a plus. So the more buildings that the fire department can have easy access to, the better off the township is.
My other thing is with all these new land development plans coming in, I've never seen the requirement to be in non-response. Is that something that would go through the review process?
We would address that during building permit issuance for the installation of non-response.
Okay, and my other thing was brought up in public comment, the food truck ordinance. My understanding, and I looked into this a little bit, is that we don't have a food truck ordinance because we didn't pass it. But we do have food trucks. Some food trucks are required to get a permit to have a bathroom. Some food trucks have not been. So we are coding them under events. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what we did. We're calling it an event. We get a permit. A food truck that sits there Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, is not an event. Okay, so we need to address it. It's not fair to the brick and mortar. That in order to get into the food trucks, the guy who got the permit has to have bathroom access versus the guy who just pulled over on the side of the road, had permission from the property owner, and is doing his thing without a bathroom, with some kind of sign in front that you're not even supposed to have a sign. No sign permit, I would assume. No parking registration. I mean, it's not a fair thing for brick and mortar versus the food truck, and then just among the food trucks themselves, some have to go through the process, some don't. So I think we need the food truck ordinance to be fair. And so I'd like to have your feedback before I make a motion.
We're trying to do it. I know Taylor was talking about food truck ordinance. We didn't require permits for it.
That we are. For some, not all.
To add on to what else that I have received calls from, I think, from local business owners feeling that it's not fair.
It's not.
So there was portions of that ordinance that we had before. One was 36 days. 36 days. Oh, yeah. That should be a season code. You got to do it together. I would be opposed to doing something, not very drastic.
Well, they don't pay taxes, right? They don't pay taxes. They don't probably live here, so we're not getting more tax. The township gets absolutely zero benefit from a food truck, right? As opposed to a brick and mortar who's paying taxes, who has to pay loan, and has to get a permit for every little thing they do. And then a food truck pulls on the side of the road, they can do whatever they want, and God only knows where they're using the restroom when they don't have permits. Whatever they want to do. They need to get ready. They have the proper parking, they have to have asphalt, they have to have line, handicap access, they have to jump through all the hoops, and a food truck does not. And there's zero benefit in this township. So at the very least, there should be a permitting process specifically for food trucks with that fee, right? And that fee. And if it's an event, then it's not a fee. We need to order this. Well, then we have that you don't need any event. If it's our event, right? You don't need any event to show up to your event.
We just did that.
Right now, it's right. Events. Great. Call an event. So, what is the criteria for an event?
Or something.
So for something like you were saying, where it's the food truck comes for like one day, we can do a special event permit under the zoning ordinance that kind of gives you the ability to set pins, signs, have food trucks, certain things like that. We would obviously like site plan fire department. For kind of a food truck like Ellen's talking about, it's consistently sitting in one spot. That food truck ordinance would be kind of how to address some of the issues you're bringing. To kind of clarify how we're handling them currently, they are temporary permits, not special events. So essentially, we issue a temporary permit for that food truck to sit in that location with certain conditions, such as make sure parking spaces are adequate for both uses. Again, kind of sanitary facilities.
The food truck I'm talking about didn't have to do anything.
It depends if we are aware of the food truck and haven't started. Because I believe there was an individual that called and kind of addressed one concern that we are working enforcement action on.
We did send an enforcement action after we had that discussion. I didn't see that problem.
And then there's again the one that's 1611 by the premium outlets, the one sitting there by the barbershop that has temporary.
Right, they have to use the bathroom.
Yep, we have written letters from the owner that they're allowed to use that bathroom, and then they're not taking up any additional parking spaces, not causing any issues with dumpster traffic.
So the other one does not have a
correct. No. So they wouldn't be allowed to get a permit.
So do they know that? They're no longer there.
We sent an enforcement action after we had a discussion, I think it was July 1st on the zoning report, but they will have 30 days to pay the vendors to technically bring the property into compliance. We have not received any correspondence at this point. Why are we doing 30 days? Because we need to on the empty state. Use it for 30 days.
Now, do these food trucks have to be inspected by the health department? Okay, so they're in the network. They're somehow in the record books as existing as a food truck. They're still required to get their department back. Right. So they have to. So why don't we attach to that? Why can't we have an ordinance that says you have to have A, B, C, and D out?
That was kind of the draft. That draft did have it. And then it went a little bit further. They went on to think that first we don't think it's necessary. But
I'm going to make a motion that I know we already have one, but we will redraft it if you get our comments to it about what we want in and out of it. And then we can redraft it so we can use everything.
Yeah, I have a note here to send it out to the commissioners. Pre-comment and you get comments back.
If I could just add one comment, I think it's important to recognize that this would not be a zoning ordinance. This is a standalone ordinance, health, safety, welfare. And the other thing is to keep in mind, and Mike, you bring up a good point, and that is the Department of Ag is going to regulate these. That we're just checking on, and we're going to verify that before we would issue a permit for the food truck to operate in Pocono Township. I mean, I think most, or Mike, you probably be familiar with the old roach coaches that would come to job sites. I mean, that's originally what food trucks were. Now they've turned into, a kind of trendy thing, and they show up and they stay places. And I agree with Ellen where they can kind of circumvent the ordinances and they don't have to do their fair share like the brick and mortar restaurants do. So I do think it's fair to try to make sure that they are licensed through the Department of Ag and that they're permitted through us to be in a location. So I think, working with the nuances of the ordinance to make sure that it fits in Poconos is a good idea. But I do think it's a valid ordinance that we should really consider. And we're dealing with it in a number of municipalities. It's something we're not going to be able to avoid. It's going to become, I think, more popular, which is great. When we dealt with the crossings, we were having issues with food trucks over there, and we negotiated that they would have a food truck court, which limited how many food trucks they could have. And they regulated it, and they ended up with, I think, 5 or 6 that they're allowed to rotate in and out without permits. So I think it's an important issue, and we should definitely try to tackle it.
Aye. I guess I'm the same word.
The library I did something for today. I did text conversation on the library board. They're meeting tomorrow and the next day to have a consistent message on the board that they are not interested in coming to the building. That everything they've said in private is that everything they put in public is very and it puts pressure on us that we're doing something wrong by now. So wouldn't matter if we all go there. We all tell the public that. I'm hoping again, this next set is by maybe the week tomorrow or next day. Make sure I have this message. We can't do anything on the agenda tonight, but I'd like to know what the permit fee for an Airbnb is. And you don't have to do it right now. You'll email it. And then I'd like to know how much revenue we generate at the park.
As of Friday last week, it was $1,620.
And and we granted exceptions. I think soccer,
the sports games that you utilize, any sports
right?
that you utilize, and yes,
right. Right. So, and we've now lost. We just had 2 park people. Correct. Yes. I'm sorry. Check. No, I think it's correct. So, I'd like to make a motion the next meeting. I'm going to make a motion next meeting. I don't think we thought of it. So, anything else? Mr. Board.
Okay, the Martin Glen Tent City. I drove by there yesterday. The tents are gone. The piles of wood are still there, and the dirt's still there, and all that backhoe still has a flat tire. Is there any progress on that? Anyone know? Sean or Pat? Paul?
Mike, Lindsay was out today and took some photos. It definitely appears to be a lot of progress, as you pointed out, but it's not complete. So I intend to be reaching out to the owner tomorrow to make sure that the rest of the material is removed from the site. The main thing I was concerned about was we really were setting up some type of, habitable situation where people were staying in tents over the weekend or something like that. But that's all been removed. And I did go into the tents. I think I sent you an email a week or so ago and made sure that there was no evidence of that people were living there. The owner does seem to be cooperative, and we are going to push on to make sure that we get everything removed from the property. If he wants to try and develop it, he's got to follow the proper course.
Thank you. And our Golden Slipper Road detour. Does anyone know if they're working the hours that they discussed, 14-hour days? They discussed working 7 to 8 in the Zoom meeting, and that they wanted to get it done post haste. But it doesn't look like that's what they're doing. Or am I in that? Anybody have anything? Pretty accurate. Am I? Okay, all right. They are working longer hours, but nowhere near. No 7-12s. Yeah, they're not here. Discussion was Lidworth 8.
And one more thing, a shameless plug. It's Carnival time. Next Monday, it's the Fireman's Carnival. We're going to be having all kinds of fun and food out in front of the firehouse. That's starting next Monday, July 14th. And in case anyone's interested, I have raffle tickets for the $25,000 prize. They're only $10 a piece. And like I said, this was a shameless plug. And that's my report.
Mike, I want to talk about that detour second. We owe them an answer on the local part of that detour. But I think the answer has to be we can't answer because it goes into Jackson.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Is Jackson still putting road closed signs up?
Yeah, they are putting them up in the daytime hours and putting them at night.
Yeah. So then I think the answer from us has to be we can't answer.
You're trying to close.
Yeah, because we share that road with Jackson Township.
So one of the things we proposed on the last call with everybody was a local detour for cars only, Reader's Run. That's a lot of time. We didn't think about it, it's in Jackson Township. Jackson's been putting out road closed signs during the day, keep people off the road. So they're cutting through. So, and it's only locals. Yeah. But so I think, Sherry, should I answer that? Do you want me to answer them tomorrow? That the answer is we can't answer them. Sure.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I'd like Lou, if you could come up and give me your phone number, please, so we can have a traffic enforcement officer reach out to you to try to help those issues on your side. Thank you.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Zoning? Lindsay?
Yes, so for this month, we had a total of 84 permits/certificates of occupancies issued. Enforcement wise, I sent a couple out. One was for 111 Wilkie, that was a zoning NOD for initiating construction activity. There was for a couple of accessory structures on the property as well as 2 off-premises signs. At this point, we've received zoning permit applications, but additional information has been requested. The same goes for 506 Ridgeview. This is the property that was across from the Hanover Engineering firm on 611 and constructed an off-premises sign onto a tree on the 611 side of the property. That has since been removed and the parcel has been closed, or the violation has been closed. Then we have another one on Blue Jay Trail. This is in PNCCCI. It was for construction without permits, a couple accessory structures, and 2 RVs are being occupied as single-family dwellings. We have not received a response from the property owner in that regard. And then on July 1st was that property on 611 for establishing a restaurant use without first obtaining additional approvals. Unless anybody else has questions for me.
I do. I have a concern with our zoning. There was an issue on Ruby Lane with a gate, and somebody complained they had chickens, and then you went out there and they didn't, or you couldn't tell, or whatever. I think our first look should be a friendly look, right? And you went out there, and I don't understand this, and you can explain it to me. But if you go out there and you see no signs of what was complained about. Why would, and then you said we're gonna further investigate. Why would you? If there's no signs, there's no signs. These people didn't have chickens and the gate probably pre-existed zoning. So I don't know why we're going after these people when we haven't done our research on these things do or do not exist, or the gate was already there.
Yeah, so as I explained in my email, for interior alterations, we cannot see that from the exterior of the house unless it's adamant. So that is why we investigated these things. Because it's not simply, we're not enforcing this to enforce. There's life safety measures that we need to look into. If there's additional bedrooms added to the house, we need to ensure that there's adequate septic capacity for those bedroom flows. So there's more into it than just going out and driving by. We need to do our due diligence. In regard to the gate, the property owner had reached out and communicated that they said they were replace the posts. So there was nothing further that we needed to do on that end. But there's serious life safety concerns under the PABCC and 2018 IRC when it comes to interior alterations. So that is why we look into it. But
you had already been there, right, earlier on about that pole barn, and they had to get stuff. So you had already been in there.
I personally had not been, no. But it was clarified that it would be attached garage that I believe alterations had been made to. Not the detached pole barn.
Okay, thank you. And then.
Hey, Alan, if I could just piggyback on what Lindsay was saying, it's really important to recognize that when we're notified of potential violations, it's really important for us to follow up and make sure that they did get proper permits, because we don't want to create a situation which, and I think Leo could add to this, is what could be considered a vested right or some type of variance by estoppel that could also lead to significant litigation down the line. So by us doing what you're seeing as kind of like heavy-handed investigating, we're actually benefiting the residents because we're making sure that we thoroughly investigated and there wasn't a problem. And therefore, we're backing them up, even though they think we may be, being heavy-handed. In reality, we're making sure that we're doing a thorough investigation. So in this case, interior changes that would have converted a garage area into a living space could be very minor, but it also could be significant, where it could have been converted into a second apartment or second dwelling unit without proper sewage flows, many of the things that Lindsay talked about. So that's why we follow up, and I think we're all on the same page at this point. We feel pretty comfortable that there isn't a violation, and if there is, we'll work with the property owners to get that resolved.
That's okay, but I guess the neighbor just felt like you went in strong, and I don't know how it went in, but
yeah,
I just want us to be friendly at the first time.
Yeah, the only communication I had with the property owner was an email. In most instances, when we're not communicative with property owners, they get a formal enforcement notice. So I would say from our office, this was a friendly approach to property owners.
And then my other question is, have you ever heard back from that bus that went down Ruby Lane the wrong way and was really wanted Polvo? There is no church, so why would a bus be going down a development?
Yes, so I did include that in the email that I sent to you.
I didn't see it yet. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. The property owners, they did come into the township and they were inquiring about permit approvals for interior alterations to the space, as well as a change of use to an office to support their business. That use is permitted within the commercial zoning district, but they were advised of the permit requirements, and depending on the site improvements that land development may be required.
And what is their business?
They would just be converting to an office space to support the church. So
what church? There is no church back there.
Yes, it would just be the office space to support the church.
So they're busing office staff up here?
All I received was one incident report in regard to the buses. I didn't get any information from them as to that specific incident back in February.
So you never got an answer from the property owner or the bus company? I'm not sure where you went for information.
I did contact the number that was provided to me for the bus company. They did not have an answer. When I asked the property owner, he also did not have an answer.
numerous times past my front door.
Okay,
So,
well, I mean, it's a bus going up Staten. If
no,
we
it's
receive
this bus, right,
reports,
it's this particular bus from New Jersey, not the school bus. I see school buses too, but they're different, right, wording on the side. So,
Well, Ellen, I can add to that. When I looked at the slip that the driver showed to the neighbor, it appeared to me that they were actually dropping somebody off or picking somebody up, and they were confused. I don't think that the property itself is being used as a church or an office at this point. It's simply that the church itself was taking people to and from their homes. They literally drive people around. And I can tell you that church is actually in Middle Smithfield Township. They have a camp there. So I think it's confusing. I totally get where you're coming from, but at the end of the day, that slip that the driver was showing, he was trying to figure out where to take somebody. It wasn't because there was a church there.
So, to kind of add on that, I've been out to the property multiple times to kind of check up to see if there is activity. At this point, it looks like there's limited yard maintenance. It doesn't look like anyone even staying at the property. There was no cars visible, lights were off. Again, there's branches in the driveway, things of that nature. So I don't think the property's even being used at this point, let alone as like an office or church.
so why would a bus need to even know that?
Good question.
It doesn't sound right. It doesn't pass the smell test for me, but
I
thank
do
you.
agree with you. There is concern that we should keep an eye on the property to make sure that there's not going to be any further development or any other violations, but at this point, I don't think we have anything to kind of move forward.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
And I think we, okay. Anybody else have anything for Lindsay? Corey?
All right, year to date, we're at 281 calls. For the quarter, April through June, we had 135 calls for the quarter, down previously 26 from second quarter of 24. We had 26 fires, which fall under between car fires, house fires, brick, brush fires, miscellaneous fires, all that. Overpressures, ruptures, explosions, overheating of fire, we had 1. Rescues, we had 15. Hazard condition, no fire, 16. Service calls was 5. Good intent, we had 40. False alarms, 31. And special incident types, we had 1. We had 28 automatic aid received. Mutual aid given was 14. Automatic aid given was 24, and 69 of no mutual aid given. Average on scene time was 28 minutes and 53 seconds. Our busiest day of the week is still Wednesday. The busiest day of the week is Wednesday, and the times is usually between 12 and 8 p.m. We had a total of 368 hours and 28 minutes of volunteer time for the quarter. Average personnel per call was 19.41. And we've been working diligently on with the knock boxes. So far, we have 62 requests, and we've been meeting back and forth with everyone. So there's 62 of them that are done.
Very nice. Corey, those brush fires, they attributed to open fires?
Open fires, fireworks, people just burning. It depends on what it is, what they're doing.
Any culprits that you found that were causing these fires?
Accidental.
Maybe have anything to Corey?
Yeah, of the 62 knock boxes, how was the reception?
Good. They're easy to work with.
Anybody else? Thanks a lot, man.
Sure.
Thank you. And your department?
I didn't email you, so I just emailed.
Yeah, thank you. I have nothing tonight, just I'll have a report, June stats for next week. Thank you. Anybody have anything for the chief? Mr. Belvin?
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things tonight. The TLC Park beautification grant that was awarded from the PMPP, that work will begin in August. That will be 2 new illuminated fountains and the copper colored lighting for the playground structures. Set to begin in August and wrap up by September. Green Light Go, as we all know, Green Light Go is finally complete. But I would like to extend our appreciation to Middle Smithfield. When this traffic first came to fruition, in the process, PennDOT threw the light up there at the Amigos, so that light was not included in the Green Light Go grant, costing the township almost another $75,000 for that light. Smithfield Township had a excess from lack of change orders on their end of their Green Light Go. It took some finagling with PennDOT, but PennDOT did allow the transfer of funds, so I'd just like to thank their township manager, Julia Vlecchia, and their board of supervisors that have helped to bring us whole to the tune of $50,000.
Can you draft a letter for that to their board and for your signature, maybe all board members here to sign and send it through?
Absolutely.
As a thank you? Yeah, that's great. Appreciate their support.
And as far as the county wing goes, 2 weeks ago we had met with the county commissioners and their architect, Wayne Vanderhoof, along with MTJ Kresge, and they're working on some conceptuals of that wing, so more to come on that. The new administration sign got put up on the entrance last Thursday. I'm not sure if you noticed, but it definitely helps. We have signs on the old police force, but that was the main entrance to this building for so many years. So hopefully that helps. Countywide reassessment update. So at the last COG meeting, County Manager Gress had let all the townships know that the county is in fact doing a reassessment. Initially, they had stated that it would be a paper reassessment, but they have now changed that it will be a flyover reassessment. So that will become active for.
We just did it 2 years ago. 3 years ago.
Yeah, they started in 2017 with the initial assessments, and it generally takes 2 years to get there. So next year they'll start with the flyover.
What's a flyover when you have to see
They're using aerial imagery, so that's where they can catch where they put a deck on your house, addition, shed, pool, fence.
The trees are over.
They do all their imagery in the fall or in the spring, and that will become.
If they use wire, they just.
It'll be updated in everyone's taxes in 2028. They say their goal is it's to hold the line. Third people's taxes will go down, third people's taxes will go up, and third will stay the same. They plan to put out a press release in the next couple weeks, and once they do that, we will share it to our town on Facebook. So that is all I have, barring any other questions.
Mr. Ginsburg presented this petition to us. Can you put this on my agenda for the next meeting for me to potentially make a motion to have an engineer do a study of the 4 locations I believe you identified? Mr. Ginsburg, just to give you an update, depending on the road configuration, if it's, if there's a rise in it, they don't, we can't put them there because of the snow conditions in the winter or ice. But we'll let the engineer.
I would leave that to the expertise of the township engineers.
So next meeting, I'll make that motion to have those identified, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Okay. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything for Mr. Bell?
I do. Is it possible to get a spreadsheet, this would probably be Gina, that shows what we projected our admin rehab to be and what we actually where we actually ended up?
So we do have a sheet. There's still some things being checked off the list that are still coming in. The final bill for the painting just got processed last week. That unit had set sail last week in the hot temperatures along with the executive session room. So we are wrapping up most of the expenses, but once that is populated, I will get it out to you.
Anybody else? Mr. Brigger?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few items. We had a meeting with Pocono Heritage Land Trust to review the easement that we need for our utility service for this building. I would say it was a successful meeting. It'll be more for next meeting, I hope, for next Board of Commissioners meeting in regards to that. We're waiting for their board to review our request. Regarding the SEO reports that we spoke of here, I believe 2 meetings ago, I did speak with our sewage enforcement officer, Helen Beers, and I will be providing on a quarterly basis to the Board of Commissioners reports from her activity reports for the commissioners. Few items regarding road and public works. The township engineer met with me to look at Staden and the road markings, and I've asked him to share in his update our findings. We're continuing on roadside cutting. Actually got a couple of calls from residents who were kind enough to alert us to some overgrown vegetation with all the rain we've had and the heat. It's been something that we really had to stay on top of, so I appreciate the contact, and we're taking care of that. We've got guys out cutting pretty much on a daily basis. We're also working on drainage in anticipation of our paving, which will commence the 1st or 2nd week of August. I confirmed today with the contractor who won the award that they're still on schedule. We'll be looking for that in the 1st or the 2nd week of August. Stay tuned on that. Regarding the plans for MCPI and Sullivan Trail, I did receive draft plans from T&M Engineering, and I have a meeting this Wednesday with our operator and our sewer engineer to review those plans, finalize them, and then we'll present that to the board. And finally, I have a possible action item. Billwall Construction, who is a CoStar vendor, provided an estimate for construction of 2 separate staircases in the rear of this building. That would allow folks from the rear parking lot to traverse the grade for the township administrative side and also the future county side. The cost for that, those 2 staircases all in, is $41,370.
Is that, how are they constructed? Is it concrete?
Yes, they're going to pour in place concrete stairs that includes railings, it includes the landings on both top and bottom. And as someone who has some experience with contracting and has built staircases, I found this price to be quite a bit less than what I anticipated, just because of the scope of the job. It's a pretty sizable job.
So is one of these staircases or both going into the county side? Is that something the county would pick up as part of their renovations?
That's a good question.
That aspect hasn't been discussed. It would serve anyone who parks in the back lot, as well as anyone parking in the back lot using the gym as well. So depending on where you park in the parking lot, it leads to the back, but they both go to paved trails.
There's no ADA back there. Wait, that's not in our ADA path. Anything in the back is outside of our
Yeah, the ADA, Brian, I think would come around the bill. It's a long run, but there's no way from back.
Spots back there anyway for us.
Not with the safe level back there, not the safe grade.
And where are we at with the county?
They had their architect here 2 weeks ago. They're putting some conceptual drawings together, and Bob, the county manager, is looking over the county lease in discussions with the landlord with intent to terminate the lease. So we're slowly getting closer.
seems like there's more traction. I met with Wayne Vanderhoof, their architect, and toured again the site with all of their decision makers there. It seems like there's traction.
So, are they taking everything from your glass atrium
The wedge.
entrances
Yeah.
all the way back? Is that what they're taking? And is there anything open in front of the glass?
The wedge. Yeah, they plan to take the entire space over. The county's gone back and forth a few times on whether or not it would be all for MPJ Kresge or if it would be split with some R&D classrooms. What I guess got a little confusing, from their end initially was if we give a big space like this to one judge, we have to give it to all the judges. But what makes it a little creative is the county files for all the MPJs are stored in the basement of where MPJ Kresge currently is. So they would also use this as their main file storage for all the combined MPJs.
Is it paper files?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they
So-
gonna scan?
Some are, some aren't, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the state police is still utilizing paper files, right?
To my knowledge, I know we transitioned to electronic filing, so I think they're all trying to transition to it. So I don't know where they're at in that process.
Yeah, a lot of the
Oh, yeah.
archives are stored downstairs in the basement, so the county recognizes it as a safety concern for the employees there going up and down the stairs.
Do we wanna be a storage bin? That's my thing. Or do we wanna rent more space out and get more money, or?
They're renting that space too.
Give it up?
We're not giving them any space for the.
Are they renting by the square foot? Is that how that's gonna work?
Yes.
Usually that's
Yeah.
so much per square foot.
So what do we need these staircases for? Is there an entrance for the magistrate to get in now off the parking lot?
Can they get there? Yes. Safety comes into play with the grade of the path that's back there, being that far away versus where the impound lot is going to go for the police department back there as well.
Wouldn't you use the front door then? Why would you come in from the back?
Safety reasons, their employees have to be able to enter through a separate entrance.
You're talking about the people that are arrested, right? But they would come into the DJ or the magistrates.
They would come in, but Judge Kresge himself and the employees have to have a separate entrance.
They do.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just like their networking package, the state sends a computer server that's prepackaged and everything right from Harrisburg, and they just put it right in their IT closet. There's a lot of, almost like state accreditation for the police department, there's a lot of standards they have to abide by.
What's the second staircase for?
Our employees.
Can't they use the main entrance?
Well, everyone parks in back.
Okay, they don't have to. Do it.
No, it's just the way the parking lot's spread out. It's a longer walk for the patrons unless the employees park in the second
They're
tier.
coming to exercise, right? So. I'm really pushing on it, I'm not gonna go out, lot of money right now. And if we have to, compliance, maybe the judge will pick up.
What's that?
Pick up the entrance that they need for the undesirable people, I'll just leave it at that, right?
The undesirables come in through the front
The
door.
front door, yeah.
No, they would, what if they do a special door?
They don't want a
With
ramp.
the chains on.
Oh, both.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you meant the other one.
I had one.
See,
You
I
said
had,
an ADA ramp for that judge.
You can make one.
Yeah, a lot of zigging and zagging.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big nut, I mean,
We just designed one for April.
because after so many feet, you need a transition that's level. I bet
The transitions are what
Transitions.
costing the money on this.
I'd like to see if we can get them to get them to.
Or, and maybe at that point we find out they want ADA access, and then we might build something for them.
Or just postpone this until we know, right, what they should pay. This might be a good price, they show.
Well, I don't think we want to jeopardize getting them in here, because that's, that,
They pay for it, they pay for Maureen Madden's office, they pay for Rosemary's office.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, the state, the county pays for
worried about something they wanted to do today. John requirements are out.
How long is this good for?
I don't think it says in the quote. I'll get some updates to the board for next week.
Somebody left the dog park, brought the dog over to wash it. Oh. That's why we need to charge, that's why we need to charge people.
Was this,
No, that's not gonna stop us.
no, we're still in.
There's public gas. Do we have cameras?
We do.
That's why that dog.
Yeah. If you send me time to data.
So I can say, oh, one of us will go back and ask him.
Yeah.
Okay. I will.
Yeah. At least they know you're doing something about it, right? Anything else for Mr. Brigham? Jennifer?
Thank you. So since the last time I was with you guys, we had our Touch a Truck event, and despite the rain, we still had a great turnout with machines and attendance. We also had our first concert in the park, and that was well attended also. We're getting a lot more vendors that want to be a part of it. The community's definitely coming out a lot more for these events. Some upcoming events. This Thursday, we have our movie in the park. Hopefully the weather holds off for us, but we do have a planned meeting case. Something that is not our event, but we are hosting at our old building property. Senator Rosemary Brown is hosting a shredding event this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I just wanted to put a reminder out there if anybody wanted to shred stuff. Senator Rosemary Brown and her team are going to be at the old township building this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12. July 17th, we have our next Kettle Creek event. That's going to be at TLC. We utilize Pocono Creek for this one. It's a lot of fun. Kids love getting in there and seeing what they find in the water. July 24th is our next concert in the park. So we're gearing up for a lot of events. It seems like we have an event a week coming up now, so it'll be real busy. We have a fun August coming up too. And then two things I'm looking for motions for. One is to waive the pavilion rental fee for the Lehigh Valley Hospital Network Nurses with Family Partnership on September 16th.
Can you elaborate on?
They're a nonprofit for first-time moms. They call it like it'll be their graduation. So they work with first-time moms and help them with breastfeeding and all of that. But it's a nonprofit. They're just partnered with Lehigh Valley Hospital. It's just for their graduation for the moms. It's a 2-year program.
What's the MCT on it? FFA, what is that?
Future Farmers of America. They want to have their get together with they went to states and won health fair, so I guess they might have a celebration.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve waive pavilion number 1 for the Lehigh Valley Nursing Family Partnership, and waive the fee for pavilion number 3 for the Future Farmers of America. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Motion's carried. Anybody have anything for Jennifer? Township Engineer, Mr. Tressler.
Thank you, Rich. On my report, the sewer business, I think Pat covered what we're doing. The Learn Road Safety Enhancement Project, we're still on hold on that. The Passive Sidewalk Project, all plans have been resubmitted back to PennDOT for their second round of comments. Hopefully, we've addressed almost everything. Working on the TLC walking bridge, I'm trying to evaluate how to separate the concrete from the existing abutments. I gotta figure out how we can do that in
and still keep the abutment stabilized. And I've got a couple vendors for prefab bridges to go in, so we're moving forward on that project. Turkey Hill, I haven't gotten a commitment yet for when the construction is going to start. I'll continue to pursue that. Staden Road signage and curb painting, I inspected that with Public Works Director, Mr. Briegel, and I think that there really isn't a whole lot of problems with the bridge. I understand that there may be some speeding in the area, but it is visible. I suggested that we put some more chevrons in further away from the curb so that people have a little bit more of an advance warning. But other than that, I think it's adequately signed. And Laurel Lake Drainage Project update, I'm not sure what that pertains to. If Jared can give me a clue on that.
That is the project that we engineered last year for the LSA grant that was approved.
So you want to move forward now? There's a couple of components to that project. One is the big culvert replacement.
Yep.
And part of that, we were waiting to see what happened with the dam.
We're still going to have to keep this category 3.
We are, okay.
Do one budget. We tried.
Yeah, we tried. I think they should have, but.
John, I would like to, at your convenience, review those plans
Okay.
again. I reported to the board last meeting, to the extent that Public Works can perform some of that work that's in the plan, I would like to do that, to save the township money. But I'd like to look more at the scope with you.
Sure.
Come up with a plan and see what we can handle comfortably versus what we may need to subcontract.
Got it, okay. And we'll set up a meeting for probably next week, and go over the plans.
Thanks.
And that's all that I have, unless there's any questions.
I'd like to talk about Warren Road. We scheduled that so that it wouldn't interfere with school. And at this point, there's no way that project's going to be done and that road back open, even if we start tomorrow. For the school outside.
I agree with you. I think that the good news is that Leo just received or signed the contract with the bank. I signed it also earlier this evening. So we can at least get PPM in there hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Get their work done, then we work on Verizon and then cable TV. And I'd say as soon as the weather breaks in March or April of next year, then we'll start.
So I mentioned to Jared, as a contractor, we would hold our number with an escalation on asphalt and concrete, which is standard anyway. And that gives you a formula. Either that or reject, eliminate the job, you save 30%.
I think that's fair.
If I have a new kid crisis.
I think that's fair.
There is a provision in contract documents that you can extend the construction time period if the township is actively pursuing right away that it needs, which is the case. So if it were the pleasure of the board, we could amend the contract for the completion date, which is what would have to take place.
We would have to. Last week we did reach out to DCD officials, letting them know that it was, we were pretty sure that we'd be submitting a grant extension for this as well.
And the only thing I'll say is I spent some time over there week before last. John, as you know, dealing with some fishbowl stuff, and it's a really bad intersection. So the sooner that gets done, from my standpoint, the better. Because the intersection as it exists, and the way the traffic uses that intersection is not safe. It's terrible. It really is. So is it worse to have a contractor in there actively working, or leaving it the way it is, which is a safety hazard?
With Golden Slipper closed and 715 they were closed for 100 days.
Yeah,
I want to have a third.
Yeah, that's true.
of the bank, because they can't make a turn off Fishkill Road. I have. I've also watched people come down Fishkill Road and make the hard right turn, actually cut through, not supposedly a property that's not owned by the township, but it was paid 30 years ago by someone. And when they make that turn, they swing right out into the southbound lane. And if you're not paying attention, there'll be a head-on collision. That just happened to me 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I'm sorry.
That pole wears a lot of stars. Oh, yeah. I saw someone go off into the grass when we were there, because someone was pulling out and just swerved around.
I'm not aware of a lot of accidents in that area. I don't know, Brian, we haven't really had any issues there.
No, not any more than usual.
You ever see how fast people go once they make a turn?
They go fast everywhere. I see them whizzing down
That
Stephen.
just make it right down. That just make it right.
I know, it doesn't make it right, but you won't speed. That's why we have police. They stop them.
We just need more officers to cover every intersection.
There we go.
I give you that.
Well done. Well played, man. Well played. Well played.
Guaranteed to raise taxes. There was a tax rate next year. This won't be done by me.
Yeah.
Yeah, not me.
So Lita, do you need a motion to redraft that or not? Is it just administrative?
Administrative
Okay.
by the bid documents.
Anything else for John? Mr. Vito?
Thank you, Rich. Nothing new on the sewer update. From a general legal update, there are 2 upcoming zoning hearings on July 31st at 5 o'clock. The first one has to do with property at 3288 Route 611, where an apartment complex is being proposed, and the applicant is seeking to get a variance from the zoning ordinance, which requires 2.5 spots per apartment unit, and wants that reduced to 2 parking spots per unit.
Do you know where that is on 611?
It's Amire LLC. I think it's currently, the current use is reported as a strip mall with retail and a gym. If that helps anyone.
It's Cranberry Creek Apartments.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Cranberry Creek, okay. So they're seeking a variance to reduce the required spots from 2.5 per unit to 2 per unit. That's the first one, just alerting the board to that. The board would like me to attend that, we need authorization. The second one, however, is one that I've touched base with zoning on. It's the same night, January 31st, and this has to do with...
You mean July?
I'm sorry, July. Thank you. July has to do with 383 Babbling Brook Road. It's an appeal of an enforcement notice. The enforcement notice deals with initiating construction activities on the property without first obtaining a zoning permit, use and occupying the unpermitted structures without first obtaining a certificate of occupancy from the zoning officer, by constructing various unpermitted structures in the side yard setback, and encroaching on the neighboring property, which is exciting. And 4, by constructing a residential accessory structure or shed in a location on the property not compliant with the zoning ordinance. In speaking with zoning, they would like the solicitor to represent them, since it's an enforcement notice, if I get approval of the board for that.
I'll make a motion that Leo attend that zoning hearing.
Which one?
Well, I'm gonna do one at a time. The second one.
The second one, the enforcement notice. Well, we have the burden to go for it.
Yeah, I agree with that second one. Will you make a motion on second?
Oh, we can't do it.
Can we open that?
No, we're
Oh, it's not listed as an action item? Okay.
So there's another meeting.
They just came in, yeah. Jared, put that on the next agenda. 21st, the hearing's the 31st of July.
We're not spending money.
I was just gonna say that. It's not de minimis.
It's not gonna hurt, it's not gonna hurt if I know, I mean, I'm getting a flavor you want me there, so
Yes.
review my schedule, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But the authorization will put on the next meeting, okay?
And if you would put them both on, and then we can decide.
I will note them in my board ordinance.
Anything else, Leo?
Let's see here, real quick. No update, on Archer Lane, although the clock keeps ticking on the $500 a day, so that's ever increasing. Lumber Road easement process, the other two properties that we, that we need, the ones where the owners are out of the state, we have filed the condemnation papers. We're waiting on the updated appraisal so we can attend just compensation. And then I'm speaking with Jeff Gurney and trying to resolve Alini's situation. And our engineer John spoke to the TASA sidewalk update. We're in the process of attempting to get those easements also, but we need plan approval before we do that, so we do not take more property than we need. And that's what I have.
Anybody have anything for Leo? Mr. Leo, thank you very much. Public comment, anybody in the audience have public comment? Mrs. Parks.
Okay, so I have the dates. First of all, I do not understand what Mr. Buckyer was saying about me getting run over or talking about can dogs or whatever any of that was. I don't know what he's talking about. I do know on July 2nd, which was last Wednesday, that the dog nearly did run into me. So that's that. Now, I do have the dates that the dogs were loose. First of all, they moved in February of 2024. I was sent a video of them walking 5 Airedales all over my property. And then again on November 19th of 2024, right after zoning had reported that they had sick puppies, then somebody came there, went into their house, was in there for an hour and a half, came out, walked an Airedale all over my property. I have no trespassing signs out. On July 26th of 2024, 4 dogs were loose. On October 13th of 2024, 1 dog was loose. On October 22nd of 2024, 2 dogs were loose. On October 23rd of 2024, 2 dogs were loose. Those are the 4 citations that they got that they did not show up for at the magistrate's office, and that I guess they're appealing, and I have to go to circuit court. Then May 27th, they were cited for dumping on my property. On June 6th, loose dog, they were cited. And this last one on July 2nd, 2 dogs, and that was when they just freaked me out because I thought I was going to be in the dirt. I'm on April 17th of 2025, I spoke to Ellen Howarth, who was the dog warden taking over for the dog warden who went to a different district. And she informed me that there were 11 dogs registered, adult dogs registered to Fernwood, to that property. On the 1st of January, they had a litter of 9 puppies, and And if you go on your website, on their website, wormwoodairedales.com, you can see all the dogs. They have them listed there. They also have a notice that we're expecting another litter on July 4th. They have no shelter for those dogs. They're out. There's no overhang anyplace. There's no nothing. And one of the things that would really help is that the township gave them the special exception to have a kennel. The township kennel ordinance says, animal boarding buildings that are not wholly enclosed and any outdoor animal pens, stalls, or runways also shall comply in all respects with the yard requirements of this chapter for the principal building, except that they should be located no closer to the front lot line than the rear wall of the principal building, and they may be located in the rear yard if located at least 10 feet from any lot line. Now, I can't use, because I'm a flag lot, I haven't been able to use the front of my property, which is flat, which is where I usually walk my dogs, because I'm afraid of the dogs getting out. Now, I'm afraid of them getting out and having a hard time with the rear of my property. It would solve a lot of the barking problem if they were in the rear of the building. I do not understand. I keep getting told that they don't have to be because they're their dogs. But if it's a kennel, that is the zoning ordinance. So why isn't it being enforced? Everybody's talking about, oh, we want to make sure we enforce the ordinances. That's not being enforced. I think it's cool for the dogs to be out there. All they want to do is go in and they bark and they see people inside, and they're out there all day long. They're out in the pouring rain. They're out in the freezing cold. They don't have anywhere to get in, out of something.
Mrs. Parker, excuse me, but in 5 minutes or
Okay, well,
Thank you for your comment.
if anybody wants to go on their website, they can see all the dogs.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to make a public comment?
Yes, we do have a website. Many of the dogs are no longer
I can't
with
hear you.
us.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Oh, sure.
Or raise your voice?
We do have a website, and a lot of the dogs that are on there, we've had in the past. They've been placed in other homes or they've passed away. So we don't have all of those dogs that are listed on the website. And right now, those dogs that are permanently living with us, we have 3 girls and 1 boy. We did have 3 additional Airedales over the 4th of July weekend, dogs that we bred that actually live on Staten Island. But we were asked by their primary owners if we could watch them for a week or so. So right now we have 7, and they're going to be picked up on Thursday, the 3. So we have 4 Airedales. As far as the question of not having a shelter, we don't keep our dogs out in the rain and in the cold. They actually like to play in the snow. But when it rains, we bring them inside. So we don't have them out there in the oppressive heat either. We bring them in for breaks in the air conditioning, and then they can go out
hours staying.
Sure.
Even though they go home.
Right.
You have to add them, and when you hit 26, then you need a state license.
We're
So
aware of that.
that's what, so I just felt like you were saying, we don't count those because they went home, but you do count.
I don't know. I
You
didn't
do
mean to
count
say
them.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to imply that. Yes, we did. We do count them towards the 26.
Did you have your puppies? Released?
Yes, there were 4 puppies. So, and we have homes that they'll be going to once they're 8 weeks old. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to make public comment?
Charles Kepler, resident. I'd just like to say I'm extraordinarily disappointed to hear that the empty wing of the new building is being used for something as inconsequential as file storage. Putting the library aside, for as long as I've been coming to these meetings, I've heard promises made to seniors in our community that they'd be getting a senior center at some point. I know they have been promised potentially Glenwood Hall, so was the library, and well, it sounds like now we're not getting either. Seniors now don't really have a place in our community. The library was a very important place where they would gather to meet, have conversations, spend time together. Especially with the heat we've been having, it's not easy to go to a park in 90 degrees when you're 90 years old. It's nice to have a library to go down to spend time in. It'd be nice to have a senior center as well. To say that we're going to put them in Glenwood Hall in 2 years, 3 years, however long it's going to take to renovate that building, while we have an entire wing of this building occupied with banker's boxes full of paperwork, it just doesn't make sense to me. I really wish this board would, prioritize this community, prioritize our seniors, prioritize our kids, and try to do what's necessary to make sure that they all have a space here in this building that we, the taxpayers, are paying for. Thank you very much.
Anybody else have public comment? Need a motion to adjourn for a second?
Second.